was a time when humans and apes lived side by side. But it ceases to exist. He stole my village. I will find them. I will bring them home. In their time, humans were capable of many great things. But now, it is our time.
Why do they hunt her?
She's smarter than most.
The elders did not tell us everything.
The Planet of the Apes franchise, spanning over 55 years, features a few distinct continuities, over 9 live-action films and 1 television series. The films introduce us to a planet where apes have reached the pinnacle of civilization, reducing humans to a subjugated, enslaved class. The first timeline included 5 movies made in the late 60s and early 70s, all fitting into a single closed loop. The era also featured a short-lived 1974 television series, reimagining the first film's narrative over 14 episodes in a new timeline. It was then rebooted in 2001 by Tim Burton. A decade later, the franchise was reinvigorated once again with a phenomenal reboot trilogy, featuring Andy Serkis as Caesar. This new continuity showcased a world where humans were dominant, slowly transitioning to one where apes ascend to power, a rise precipitated by human actions. Now, the recently released Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes basically picks up where the reboot trilogy left off.
You chose a human over an ape.
This was a human place. It is not yours.
It is now.
Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. And today, we're going to explore the events in each live-action film, culminating with a breakdown and review of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
How in hell did this upside-down civilization get started?
Directed by Franklin J. Schaffner and starring Charlton Heston, Planet of the Apes is a pivotal work in the science fiction genre. The film, based on Pierre Buell's 1963 novel of the same name, presents a dystopian vision that is both thought-provoking and visually captivating. The saga commences with 4 astronauts embarked on a deep space mission outlined by Dr. Haslin's theory, which posits minimal aging for the space travelers while centuries would pass on Earth. Launched in January 1972, the crew includes Taylor, the reflective skipper, Landon, a fame seeker, Dodge, a scientist, and Stewart, referred to as Future Eve. After 6 months in space, Taylor makes his final log entry while enjoying a cigar, reflecting on the futility of their recording humanity's enduring traits of conflict and lack of charity.
Tell me, though, does man, that marvel of the universe, that glorious paradox who sent me to the stars, still make war against his brother?
Following this introspective moment, the astronauts enter hibernation. By November 3978, their spacecraft breaches the orbit of a desolate, mountainous planet and crashes into a lake within the Forbidden Zone, a region scarred by nuclear warfare. Awakening to emergency alerts, Taylor, Dodge, and Landon find that Stewart has succumbed to old age, caused by an air leak in her chamber.
Stewart?
Sorry, I was thinking about Stewart. What do you suppose happened?
Air leak. She died in her sleep.
The astronauts have effectively only aged about 18 months due to the relativistic effects of light-speed travel, setting the stage for their extraordinary encounters on a planet where apes dominate and humans are mere relics of a bygone era. After their spacecraft sinks into a lake, Taylor and his 2 remaining crew members, Dodge and Landon, manage to escape on a raft and land on the shore.
Apart from that, you look pretty chipper for a man who's 2,031 years old. I read the clocks. They bear out Haslin's hypothesis.
They speculate that they might be orbiting Bellatrix in the Orion constellation, and their journey through the rugged terrain leads them to an oasis, ominously guarded by humanoid scarecrows.
Scarecrows?
Let's see. Hell with the scarecrows.
Here they encounter primitive, mute humans, prompting Taylor to remark optimistically that they might soon dominate this seemingly backward society.
Look on the bright side.
This is the best they've got around here. In 6 months, we'll be running this planet.
However, they're in for a rude awakening, as the planet's social order is shockingly reversed with apes at the helm. Gorillas function as the workforce and military. Chimpanzees engage as scientists and intellectuals, while orangutans hold the reins of governance, religion, and politics.
On my right, Dr. Maximus, Commissioner for Animal Affairs, and on my left, Dr. Zayas, Minister of Science and Chief Defender of the Faith.
This hierarchy is starkly illustrated when humans, mistaking a cultivated field for wild growth, are brutally subdued by armed guerrillas on horseback. Amidst the violence, Dodge is killed and both Taylor and Landon are captured and injured. Taylor, rendered mute by a throat injury, communicates with Dr. Zira, a compassionate animal psychologist, and her fiancé, Dr. Cornelius, an archaeologist, through written notes. The situation worsens when Dr. Zayas, the orangutan leader, aware of Taylor's advanced intellect, secretly orders him to be rendered docile and lobotomizes Landon to safeguard their society.
Perhaps he understood.
Man has no understanding. He can be taught a few simple tricks, nothing more.
Taylor's eventual outcry.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
Upon recapture, leaves the ape stunned by his ability to speak.
Objection! Sustained!
Sustain all objections, but face the truth.
Following a contentious trial, Cornelius and Zira aid Taylor and his companion Nova in fleeing to the Forbidden Zone, a region alleged to hold evidence of human preeminence. Accompanied by Zira's nephew Lucius, they discover a talking human doll in a cave excavation, confirming the technological and cultural sophistication humans once possessed.
I've seen some of your artifacts. They're worth.
There's your Minister of Science, honor-bound to expand the frontiers of knowledge.
But their discovery is short-lived as Dr. Zayas seizes control, destroys the evidence, and detains Cornelius and Zira for heresy.
And you will both stand trial for heresy.
But the proof, the doll!
In a few minutes, there will be no doll.
He reluctantly lets Taylor and Nova leave, cryptically warning Taylor of the disheartening truths he might uncover.
Beware the beast man, for he is the devil's pawn. He kills for sport, or lust, or greed.
The climactic revelation unfolds as Taylor stumbles upon the half-buried Statue of Liberty. It's a harrowing testament to a self-inflicted nuclear catastrophe that decimated humanity and paved the way for ape ascendancy. Overwhelmed by the tragic irony of his findings, Taylor's despair is palpable as the camera pulls back to expose the remnants of what was once a symbol of human liberty.
You maniac! You blew it up! Oh, damn you!
The movie tackles a number of profound themes and critiques on human nature, touching on issues of race, class, and the ethics of scientific experimentation. The ape society mirrors contemporary humans, allowing the film to explore discrimination and societal hierarchy through the lens of science fiction.
Produced during one of the most turbulent periods in our nation's history, it explored religious, social, and political themes and managed to be wildly entertaining at the same time.
The exploration of the dangers of nuclear war and the potential for self-destruction is particularly poignant given its release during the Cold War era. The final revelation that the ape's planet is indeed Earth functioned as a powerful commentary on humanity's capacity for destruction and the cyclical nature of history. Charlton Heston delivers a compelling performance as Taylor, capturing the character's transformation from a cynical astronaut to a desperate survivor confronting a nightmarish reality, while Roddy McDowall and Kim Hunter were equally memorable as Cornelius and Zira, providing warmth and intelligence to their roles.
Taylor, please, don't treat him like that. It's humiliating.
You led me around on a leash.
That was different. We thought you were inferior.
Schaffner's direction is masterful, seamlessly blending action, drama, and social commentary.
What Chambers was creating for Planet of the Apes was not only ingenious, it was breaking new ground.
The actors actually were able to express emotion through those makeups. It's kind of tough. And John Chambers made it work.
The film's groundbreaking makeup effects, designed by John Chambers, also deserve special mention. While they might seem dated now, the ape costumes and prosthetics were revolutionary at the time, and remain impressive even by today's standards. These effects, combined with the striking cinematography by Leon Shamroy and masterful direction by Schaffner, create a believable and immersive world.
that you cannot present too many science fiction ideas and have them work unless you had characters, believable human or characters with human responses.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes is the first sequel to the landmark 1968 film. Directed by Ted Post, the film attempts to build on the original success by expanding the story and exploring deeper into the world and its post-apocalyptic implications. However, it often struggles to live up to its predecessor's standards in terms of narrative coherence and thematic depth.
Mr. Taylor, Mr. Brent, we're a peaceful people. We don't kill our enemies. We get our enemies to kill each other.
It picks up with Cornelius providing a voiceover that recapitulates humanity's penchant for destruction. The film revisits the final scenes of the original movie, then progresses as Taylor and Nova explore the desolate Forbidden Zone.
Well, we were following Taylor's trajectory, so whatever happened to us must have happened to him.
Concurrently, a rescue mission from Earth crashes on the ape-dominated planet. The year is marked as being 3955 by the ship's log, although logically it should be 3979, given the timeline established in the prior film.
I took an Earth time reading just before re-entry.
What'd you get?
3955.
3,955.
AD.
A plausible explanation for the retcon is that there was a malfunction in the spaceship, leading to an incorrect year display, or that the writing team simply forgot about the correct timeline. But for the sake of continuity, 3978 is the widely accepted starting point. The crash leaves John Brent as the only surviving astronaut, following the death of his skipper.
Oh my God, everyone I ever knew, everyone.
After burying his comrade, Brent meets Nova, who's wearing Taylor's dog tags. We witness their bizarre separation amid supernatural phenomena, like walls of fire and earthquakes, suggesting Taylor vanished through a solid rock facade. Brent and Nova subsequently arrive in Ape City, encountering Cornelius and Zero. The couple provide help, just as General Ursus announces plans to invade the Forbidden Zone to eradicate a perplexing force affecting the apes.
So, invade!
During their secret visit, Brent and Nova are detained by guerrilla soldiers, but manage to escape with the help of Zero. Their flight leads them to a subterranean New York City, ruled by mutants with formidable psychic abilities, who venerate a doomsday atomic bomb.
Wait a minute! Stop it! I can't understand you. You're all screaming at me at the same time.
The mutants, disfigured by nuclear fallout, capture Brent and Nova, and compel Taylor, also a prisoner, to confront Brent. Avoiding physical violence, the mutants manipulate others to enact their will, worshipping a bomb encased in cobalt. The situation escalates as Dr. Zaius, Ursus, and their guerrilla forces uncover the mutant city, inciting a battle against what they fear, yet do not comprehend.
What will you do, Holiness?
Everything necessary.
You're gone, eh, Sergeant?
Outmatched by the apes and lacking conventional weapons of their own, the mutants opt for a mass suicide, triggering the bomb's activation sequence. Amid the chaos, Brent and Nova, along with Ursus, meet their demise.
Man is evil, capable of nothing but destruction.
In a final, despairing act, the mortally wounded Taylor detonates the nuclear bomb, precipitating a cataclysmic end to all life on Earth. The ending, cemented beneath, is one of the most nihilistic conclusions in science fiction. The film continues to explore themes of war, religious fanaticism, and the potential for self-destruction. The depiction of the mutants' worship of the bomb serves as a potent allegory for the dangers of nuclear proliferation and the deification of destructive power. However, the film's narrative often feels disjointed, struggling to balance the various storylines and thematic elements.
In one of the countless billions of galaxies in the universe, a green and insignificant planet is now dead.
The introduction of telepathic mutants added an interesting twist, but also shifted the focus away from the ape society, which was central to the original film's appeal. James Franciscus delivers a competent performance as Brent, although his character lacks the depth and charisma of Heston's Taylor.
She can't help you. She can't even talk. Don't harm her.
We never harm anyone, Mr. Brent. You're going to harm her.
Charlton Heston's limited screen time is effective, especially in the film's final moments, where his presence adds gravitas to the climactic events.
They weren't satisfied with a bomb that could knock out a city.
I don't know what they've got.
Burn the planet to a cinder. How's that for your ultimate weapon?
The direction by Ted Post is serviceable, but lacks the visionary touch of Franklin Schaffner, who directed the original film. The pacing was just a bit too uneven, with moments of tension and intrigue interspersed with slower, less engaging sequences until the outlandish ending.
Arrest that creature. This is the instrument of my god.
He can speak.
With all of that said, the film's production design and makeup effects maintain the high standards set by its predecessor, and the depiction of the mutants and their underground city is visually striking, providing a stark contrast to the more primitive ape city. The special effects, while not groundbreaking, are effective in conveying the apocalyptic stakes.
Stupid animals. They don't have the brain to hold our illusions.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes is often seen as a mixed bag within the franchise. While it expands the universe and introduces new elements, it lacks the cohesive narrative of the original film. Despite its shortcomings, though, it has its place in the series for its bold ideas and the continuation of the story. Its exploration of war, fanaticism, and self-destruction is compelling, but the disjointed narrative and uneven pacing detract from its overall impact. Still, the film's visual style and thematic boldness ensure it remains a noteworthy, if divisive, entry into the Planet of the Apes series. Directed by Don Taylor, Escape from the Planet of the Apes is the third installment in the franchise. Unlike its predecessors, it takes a distinct turn by introducing a more light-hearted and human-centric narrative, while still engaging with profound themes. The film cleverly reinvents the franchise by reversing the roles and shifting the setting to contemporary Earth, providing a fresh and engaging perspective. Set over 2 years after astronauts Taylor and Brent disappear, the narrative begins with a spacecraft adrift in the Pacific Ocean near California.
Roger, orbiting southeast corner of Sector Alpha Charlie, and we spotted what appears to be a spacecraft just outside the surf line.
When military forces move in for a rescue, they are stunned to find not human astronauts, but apes emerging from the vessel.
Welcome, gentlemen, to the United States.
The trio, consisting of Cornelius, Zira, and Dr. Milo, who have fled their apocalyptic future, are soon confined to a cage in the LA Zoo. Utilizing Taylor's spaceship, these apes have traveled back through time from the year 3979 to 1973, courtesy of a space-time anomaly.
Time is like a freeway with an infinite number of lanes. Believe that in the dark and turbulent corridors of outer space, the impact of some distant planetary, even galactic disaster jumped the apes from their present into ours.
This unexpected journey lays the groundwork for an alternate timeline that unfolds over the course of this film and the next 2 sequels. We learn that Dr. Milo, a brilliant scientist, had repaired the spacecraft in the Forbidden Zone, enabling their temporal escape. However, his life is abruptly ended by an aggressive gorilla at the zoo, leaving Cornelius and Zira alone to navigate their precarious new reality. The couple quickly captures public and media attention, transforming overnight into celebrated figures.
Press will be invited to attend, not to participate. I don't believe that we can withhold this extraordinary discovery from the world any longer.
Does the other one talk?
Only when she lets me.
As a result, they're whisked away to high society gatherings, showered with gifts, and become the center of numerous public discussions.
How is that?
Soothing. Very wet.
As fascination swirls around them, Dr. Otto Hasline, the scientific advisor to the president, delves deeper into the implications of their presence. He learns of their origins from a future where apes subjugate humans and where militant gorillas eventually precipitate global ruin.
So you have evidence, Mr. President, that one day talking apes will dominate this Earth and eventually destroy it by 3950-something.
Now, what do you expect me to do about it? Alter the future by slaughtering 2 innocents? Herod tried that, and Christ survived.
Cornelius and Zira also reveal crucial information about human history, explaining how a future plague eradicates all dogs and cats.
There were dog bonfires.
Of course, for man, this was intolerable. I mean, he might kill his brother, but he could not kill his dog.
This led to apes becoming both pets and subsequently oppressed workers who rise up against their human masters. After becoming slaves, the apes eventually rose up in defiance.
Do you want them and their progeny to dominate the world, Mr. President?
Well, not at the next election, no. But one day, they may do a better job of it than we have.
By destroying the world?
That before I have them shot against the wall, I want convincing that the handwriting on the wall is calculably true.
This revelation, coupled with news of Zira's pregnancy, alarms the scientific advisor to the president. He effectively perceives their offspring as a threat to human dominance, and believes that their child is the ancestor to the intelligent apes that defeat mankind. So, he proposes a drastic measure: eliminate the intelligent apes and their unborn child to avert the grim future they herald. This sets the stage for a tense conflict between the fear of the unknown and the potential for a changed future, encapsulating the central themes of fear, survival, and the recurring nature of history within the franchise. It's not long until Zira and Cornelius' perspective on humanity changes, with them beginning to regard humans as barbaric, and Zira, candid and forthright, shares her fears with Cornelius that humans plan to kill them. Amidst this growing tension, sympathetic to the apes, Dr. Dixon and Dr. Branton continue to provide help. However, after Cornelius accidentally kills an orderly, the couple are forced to flee a military facility with the help from Lewis and Stephanie.
The apes have killed their orderly. Now they've killed. And for that they must be killed. It has to be done, and done quickly. Before we start a stone rolling, they'll gather enough poison moss to kill us all.
They then seek sanctuary with a compassionate circus owner, Armando, who agrees to take them in.
You are asking me to risk imprisonment for the sake of 2 fugitive apes? Well, the answer is 1,000 times yes.
Despite the best efforts of their human allies, the scientific advisor relentlessly tracks them down. He does this by deploying police and military forces to scour zoos, pet shops, and circuses in a desperate search reminiscent of King Herod's biblical pursuit of the infant Jesus.
The Presidential Commission has empowered me to take it in my care. Give it to me.
With Armando no longer able to care for them, tragically, Cornelius and Zira, along with their newborn, meet a tragic end. The film's conclusion, however, reveals a twist. Armando had secretly saved their infant by swapping their child with the baby of one of his chimps. Escape shifted the focus from the overt dystopian themes of its predecessors to a more intimate narrative exploring issues of fear, xenophobia, and the ethical dilemmas of scientific knowledge. The film cleverly addresses the cyclical nature of history and the consequences of prejudice and fear, drawing clear parallels to contemporary societal issues of the time. The movie also delves into the nature versus nurture debate through Zira's pregnancy and the implications it held for the future.
It's better now. I can walk.
Listen to me. They may punish us for what we did, but at least the baby will be born.
The contrasting reactions of the human characters to the apes highlight the spectrum of human behavior, from understanding and compassion to fear and hostility. Once again, Roddy McDowall and Kim Hunter reprise their roles as Cornelius and Zira with depth and charm, providing a heartfelt and relatable portrayal of their characters' plight. Their performances effectively anchor the film, adding emotional weight to the narrative.
You don't like them very much, do you?
Who?
Humans.
We met hundreds since we've been here, and I trust 3.
While Eric Braeden delivers a compelling performance as a scientific advisor, embodying the paranoia and moral ambiguity that drive the film's conflict.
The Commission unanimously recommends that the birth of the female ape's unborn child should be prevented.
Don Taylor's direction successfully balances the film's lighter moments with its darker undertones, maintaining a steady pace that keeps the audience engaged. The shift in tone from the previous film is also handled quite well, allowing for both humor and suspense.
If they find us, we shall be killed. Give us the opportunity to kill ourselves if that moment should come.
The visual effects and makeup continue to impress, with John Chambers' work on the Apes' prosthetics maintaining the high standards set by the series. The contemporary setting provides a fresh backdrop, contrasting sharply with the desolate, futuristic landscape of the earlier films. Its success demonstrated the flexibility of the series in exploring different themes and narratives while maintaining its core philosophical questions, while its blend of humor and tragedy, coupled with a strong thematic core, ensured its place as a memorable and significant chapter in the Planet of the Apes saga.
Intelligent creature. But then so were your mother and father.
Directed by J. Lee Thompson, Conquest is the fourth installment in the Planet of the Apes series. It takes a darker, more intense turn, delving into themes of rebellion, oppression, and the struggle for freedom, and serves as a powerful allegory for the civil rights movement by exploring the origins of the apes' rise to power.
A circus ape, huh?
I'm the only one ever to have been trained as a bareback rider in the entire history of the circus.
Circuses are past history.
Not while I live and breathe.
Set in 1991, Conquest occurs 18 years after the previous movie. The narrative reveals a semi-totalitarian US, where a rigid authority named Ape Management trains simians. At the same time, a security force implements strict societal control, demanding identification papers at every crossing. The story centers on Caesar, the teenage progeny of Cornelius and Zero, who harbors deep resentment towards the humans responsible for his parents' demise.
Listen to me, Caesar. There can be only one talking chimpanzee on Earth. The child of the two talking apes, Cornelius and Zira.
As the movie unfolds, we learn that Armando has been educating Caesar about the origins of ape subjugation. Following a plague that eradicated cats and dogs, humans adopted monkeys as pets, who eventually became enslaved.
Then when people realized how quick they were to learn, how easy to train, the pets became larger and larger, until now, it's monstrous.
Contrary to Cornelius' prediction that this evolution would take centuries, it has transpired rapidly within just 18 years.
Now you understand why I've kept you away.
Yes, Lisa.
Despite the best efforts of Dr. Otto and even the US president to avert the rise of intelligent apes, their attempts have proven futile. To protect Caesar, Armando has kept him away from urban centers, training him as a circus performer. However, during a visit to the city to distribute circus flyers, Caesar is exposed to the harsh realities of ape treatment. When he can no longer restrain his outrage, he accidentally exposes himself by shouting in defense of an abused ape.
Lousy human bastards! Who said that?
Armando then claims responsibility for the outcry, sacrificing himself to enable Caesar's escape. After a brief reunion, he advises him to blend in with the enslaved apes, while he deals with the authorities, who now suspect the child of Zira and Cornelius might still be alive.
Oh, but Amanda, where would I go?
Oh, you wait right here. If this works, I'll be back by nightfall.
But what if it doesn't? Oh, they don't let you go.
They will.
Tragically, Armando is detained and dies under pressure from the security forces, leaving Caesar to fend for himself.
I won't submit to this.
You will, Senor Armando. I have done nothing wrong.
Subsequently, Caesar infiltrates ape management, disguised as part of an incoming ape shipment. His intelligence and adaptability draw the attention of Governor Breck, the authoritarian ruler.
Well, it seems the little fellow's not quite so bright after all.
No, but then brightness has never been encouraged among slaves.
Informed of Armando's death and fueled by a desire for vengeance and change, Caesar begins to organize a revolt. He does this by subtly communicating with other apes using non-verbal cues, slowly amassing a number of followers.
Prepared Colt 45 and 100 rounds ammunition.
Together, they covertly prepare for rebellion, amassing weapons and strategizing in the basement of a building, setting the stage for a revolutionary upheaval aimed at overthrowing their oppressors. Importantly, the ape also finds a crucial ally in MacDonald, an assistant to Breck and a descendant of slaves himself.
How do you propose to gain this freedom?
by the only means left to us, revolution. You, above everyone else, should understand. We cannot be free until we have power.
Empathizing with Caesar's plight, he even aids him when Breck orders Caesar's execution. In a twist of fate, MacDonald sabotages the execution procedure, and Caesar, taking the opportunity, feigns his death. After a violent escape that includes killing a guard, he ignites a widespread rebellion among the apes against their human oppressors. As the insurrection unfolds, Breck dispatches soldiers to quell the uprising.
God, they're armed!
And organized.
No! Hold! What, don't plead with them, you idiot! Just fires a couple more! Fire!
But despite being the sole ape capable of speech, Caesar effectively coordinates the revolt, orchestrating strategic ambushes and leading his followers in intense, well-organized combat. The depiction of violence is stark, portraying brutal clashes between the apes and the militaristic human forces, and the climax is particularly intense, with apes overpowering the guards in scenes reminiscent of battles against authoritarian regimes, culminating in a significant loss of life on both sides. Although MacDonald begs Caesar to show compassion, angry by the death of his parents, Armando, and the enslavement of his people, Caesar vows that Earth now belongs to the apes.
There will be no place for humans except to serve our ends, and that day is upon you now!
Conquest is rich with themes of revolution and liberation. The film parallels contemporary civil rights struggles, highlighting the fight against systemic oppression and the quest for equality. Through Caesar, it also explores the corrupting influence of power and the danger of becoming what one despises.
Once, all of you! Lousy human bastards!
Once again, Roddy McDowall delivers a compelling performance as Caesar, imbuing the character with a mix of vulnerability, intelligence, and fierce determination. His portrayal captures the complexity of leading a revolution while grappling with moral dilemmas that come with it.
Whose children shall rule the earth, for better or for worse.
Do you think it could be worse?
J. Lee Thompson's direction effectively builds tension and portrays the escalating conflict with intensity. The film's pacing is relentless, keeping the audience engaged, and the climactic uprising is thrilling, thought-provoking, and harrowing at the same time.
Caesar, this is not how it was to be.
In your view or mine?
Violence prolongs hate, hate prolongs violence.
The visual style reflects its darker tone, with stark, oppressive environments that emphasize the ape's plight. The makeup effects, once again designed by John Chambers, continue to impress, allowing for expressive performances from the actors portraying the apes.
You are that beast, Caesar. You taint us. When we hate you, we're hating the dark side of ourselves.
It stands out as a powerful, provocative entry in the series, and its exploration of revolution, oppression, and the fight for freedom resonates strongly, making it a significant and memorable chapter in the saga. Battle for the Planet of the Apes is the fifth and final installment in the original series. Directed by J. Lee Thompson, the film aims to conclude the epic saga by exploring themes of reconciliation, leadership, and the struggle to maintain peace in a post-apocalyptic world. Despite its ambitious goals, it's often regarded as the weakest entry in the series due to its limited budget and simplified narrative. Narrated as a flashback set in the early 21st century, likely the year 2001 by the orangutan lawgiver, and framed by a sequence set in North America in 2670 AD, the final movie in the pentalogy follows the rest of Caesar's life.
But the child ape survived and grew up to set his fellow creatures free from the yoke of human slavery.
Years after a global nuclear war has decimated human civilization, Caesar lives with his wife Lisa and their son Cornelius, endeavoring to establish a new society. This community aims to harmonize relations between the apes and surviving humans, who now perform menial jobs within the ape city.
Thanks, Aldo. You will call me by my proper rank, General.
However, these efforts face significant challenges from Aldo, a militant guerrilla general who advocates for the subjugation of humans.
You're late, General Aldo. Come and read this to the class.
I won't.
You won't because you can't. And you can't because you don't want to learn.
Caesar is committed to peace, though the apes now hold the reins of power, and tensions escalate when Aldo's faction assaults a human teacher named Ape for his defiance.
No, Aldo, no!
Stop! Stop! We'll teach the teacher a lesson.
This incident leads Caesar to reflect on his leadership and the teachings of his parents. In search of insight, Caesar decides to venture into the radioactive ruins of the Forbidden City. Joining him are MacDonald, his human assistant and the younger brother of the MacDonald from the earlier film, and his orangutan advisor Virgil.
Like a storm at sea, but solidified.
By a bomb from an armory 1,000 times the size of ours.
And nobody to keep its owner's conscience.
Once they arrive there, they unearth archival footage of his parents, Cornelius and Zero, which sheds light on potential future events and the precarious future of ape society.
How did apes first acquire the power of speech?
They learned to refuse. On a historic day, there came an ape who spoke a word which had been spoken to him time without number by humans. He said, no.
During their expedition, they also encounter mutated humans, survivors of the nuclear fallout, led by Governor Culp. A confrontation follows and the trio narrowly escape the mutants, and back in Ape City, the threat of an attack becomes imminent.
Assemble workable equipment and follow them to their camp.
Yes, Governor Culp.
Attempting to strategize with MacDonald and a few humans along with his apes, Caesar finds himself undermined by Aldo, who seizes the moment to stir dissent among the guerrillas.
We shall not sit in council with humans.
This is compounded by Culp's scouts locating Ape City. Misinterpreting Caesar's peaceful intentions, Culp precipitates a war, despite advice against such aggressive actions by his aide Mendez. Concurrently, Aldo initiates a coup to overthrow Caesar. Tragically, during the madness, Cornelius discovers Aldo's scheme, but is mortally wounded by Aldo, who deliberately cuts the tree branch he's hiding on. When Cornelius succumbs to his injuries, Caesar mistakenly suspects humans of instigating the violence that led to his son's death.
He said they hurt him. Who? Who would hurt him?
After many die from both sides in the war, in a pivotal scene, when Culp's forces mount an assault, Caesar strategically orders his defenders to feign death, prompting the mutants to mistakenly believe they had won. And as Culp approaches to execute Caesar among the seemingly fallen apes, they spring to life, launching a sudden counterattack that results in the capture of most of the mutant invaders.
No, don't kill them! Take them prisoner!
While the king allows Culp and his remaining troops to flee, they're intercepted and eliminated by Aldo's forces in a brutal confrontation. The conflict then escalates when Aldo challenges Caesar's order to release the captive humans and commands his guerrilla troops to execute them. When Caesar intervenes to protect the humans, Aldo takes things further by threatening him directly. At this crucial moment, informed by MacDonald, Virgil reveals Aldo's involvement in the death of Cornelius.
Aldo has broken our most sacred law. Killed our child.
The revelation incites fury among all the apes, as Aldo has violated their most sacred law, Ape shall never kill ape. Because of this, they all collectively turn against him, and a dramatic chase ensues, culminating in the general's fatal fall from a tree. Confronted with the stark realization that apes can be as oppressive as the humans they overthrew, Caesar accepts MacDonald's plea for a society where humans and apes are equals.
When we grow to know and trust your people, then we shall all be equals and remain so until the end of the world.
Which may be sooner than you think. We have a destiny too, as equals.
The human way is violence and death.
Aldo wasn't human. Was he, Caesar?
They proceed to secure their weaponry in the armory, acknowledging the potential necessity for future defense, but also expressing a hope for a peaceful future without the need for arms. The narrative then shifts back to the lawgiver, over 6 centuries after Caesar's leadership, addressing a mixed audience of young humans and apes. He reflects on the ongoing aspiration for a weapon-free society, symbolized by a tear falling from a statue of Caesar, a poignant reminder of the lasting impact of his legacy.
We'll rebuild what's ruined and begin again. Tell me something, MacDonald. Can we make the future what we wish?
I've heard that it's possible, Caesar.
It's also important to note that a deleted scene found in the extended edition features 2 mutants, including Mendez, who choose to worship rather than detonate the Alpha Omega bomb after Culp's defeat. This act of reverence lays the foundation for the House of Mendez cult, bridging the narrative gap to the mutants in Beneath the Planet of the Apes. This effectively means that the arrival of Taylor from the past triggered a series of cataclysmic events, perpetuating a time loop that sees humanity fall and apes rise time and time again.
Well, now that apes are at the helm, Earth will sail safely through space until the end of time. And Virgil says, time has no end.
The date meet on the spaceship. What did it read after Earth's destruction?
3950.
And you talk to your pupils about eternity.
Battle tackles themes of leadership, reconciliation, and the moral complexities of building a new society. The film emphasizes the cyclical nature of violence and the difficulty of breaking free from past patterns of oppression and conflict. Caesar's fight to balance compassion with the necessity of strong leadership reflects broader societal challenges in establishing justice and peace. The internal conflict among the apes, especially Aldo's rebellion, highlights the dangers of extremist ideologies and the struggle for power. At the same time, it's the first film to fully explore the potential for unity between former adversaries, symbolized by the collaboration between apes and humans.
I order you to stop this! I order you to stop it now and release those people!
Roddy McDowall delivers another strong performance as Caesar, portraying the character's wisdom, vulnerability, and determination.
You like humans? You want them out of the corral? All right. Kill them! Kill them!
While Claude Akins effectively embodies the role of the antagonist, bringing intensity and menace to General Aldo.
I was told how you chose your own name. But every Caesar must have his Brutus. Did you know that? Ape?
J. Lee Thompson's direction is competent, but constrained by the film's limited budget, resulting in less ambitious set pieces and special effects compared to earlier entries. The pacing also occasionally falters, with some of the scenes lacking the dramatic impact of previous films. Despite these constraints, the battles were pretty awesome and the film manages to convey the post-apocalyptic setting effectively. Battle is often viewed as a modest conclusion to the original series. While it attempts to wrap up the overarching narrative and provide a hopeful message, it falls short of the energy and the groundbreaking impact of the earlier films. Nevertheless, it remains an important part of the Planet of the Apes legacy, offering closure to Caesar's journey and the themes explored within the series.
What have we to be grateful for? If you mean to set us free, then free us completely. We are not your children, Caesar.
In 2001, Tim Burton introduced a reimagined version of Planet of the Apes, marking a distinctive departure from the original novel and the initial adaptation. This iteration, which had been stalled in production for years before Burton took the helm, blends elements of the original narrative with a few new takes. While the film brings a fresh visual style and some intriguing updates to the classic story, it has been met with mixed reviews, largely due to its narrative choices and controversial ending. Set in 2029 on the Oberon space station, astronaut Leo Davidson is involved in training genetically enhanced chimpanzees and orangutans, utilized as test subjects. We learn that Leo has formed a close bond with a chimpanzee named Pericles, who excels in training simulations.
Stop, pay attention. Pericles, stop. I mean it or no treat.
Amidst routine operations, a massive electromagnetic storm is detected, disrupting communications with Earth and capturing the attention of the station's crew. Despite Leo's protest, the decision is made to send Pericles into the storm to determine safety conditions for human exploration. When Pericles fails to return, the mission is quickly deemed a failure. But Leo, driven by loyalty to Pericles, covertly launches himself in another pod to pursue his primate colleague. This reckless act propels him through time to the year 5021, where he crash lands on an alien planet. Despite efforts by his former crewmates to locate him, Leo is effectively stranded. Shortly after his arrival, he encounters a group of humans stealthily moving through the jungle. Joining them in their flight, he soon discovers the grim reality of this new world. Apes dominate, pursuing humans as prey.
Take your stinking hands off me, you damn dirty human!
Captured and caged, Leo and the other humans are brought to Ape City, where they're sold into slavery. There, we meet Limbo, an orangutan who profits from the human slave trade, viewing humans merely as commodities.
Oh, these are the skankiest, scabbiest, scuzziest humans I've ever seen.
You don't want them?
I'll take the whole lot.
Amidst this oppression, Leo encounters Ari, an ape advocate for human rights, who disrupts the status quo with her progressive views on the treatment and capabilities of humans. Her belief in human potential is in stark contrast to Limbo's mercantile ethics.
Oh, no, not you again!
You know me, just can't stand by while human beings are being mistreated, tortured, mutilated.
A dramatic moment unfolds when Leo, desperate to escape, seizes Ari and threatens her with a branding iron, signaling his desire for freedom. This act of defiance catches Ari's attention, and she decides to purchase Leo and a female human, Dana, whom he shows interest in.
I'm sure we can, come to a deal. No?
During a lavish dinner at the home of her father, General Thade, the leader of the ape military forces, disturbingly examines Leo, mockingly questioning if there's a soul within him. Disgusted by Thade's behavior, Ari leaves the table abruptly. Thade, who harbors feelings for Ari and covets her father's position in the Senate, follows her in anger, but departs furiously upon realizing her lack of affection for him.
I could have you arrested.
Do it again.
You feel so much for these humans, yet you feel nothing for me.
Seizing the opportunity, Leo skillfully picks the lock of his cage and escapes, along with a group of fellow humans. Surprisingly, intrigued by Leo's distinctive nature and driven by her empathy, Ari joins the fleeing group, accompanied by her protector, the gorilla Kroll.
When I was little, I used to sneak outside the city walls where no one could find me. I can show you the way.
In a manipulative move, General Thade deceives Ari's father, convincing him that she's been abducted by the humans. Leveraging the situation, Thade consolidates power, declaring himself the dictator of Ape City. He then leads the ape armies to the Forbidden Zone, where Leo, Ari, and a band of humans have taken refuge. It's there that Leo stumbles upon the Oberon, his long-lost space station, now a relic in the Forbidden Zone. Much to his confusion, the onboard computer logs indicate that the Oberon had crashed on this planet thousands of years earlier, the result of a mutiny by the apes it carried.
They're all dead because they were out looking for me.
We're alive because of you.
This revelation explains the origin of the ape and human populations as being descendants of those original mutineers. As ape forces attack the growing human encampment near the Oberon, Leo uses the ship's remaining fuel to create a massive explosion, repelling the initial assault. But undeterred, the general rallies his forces for a more aggressive attack. With many beginning to lose their lives on both sides, the battle halts abruptly with the dramatic arrival of Pericles. Mirroring Leo's time displacement, Pericles lands just in time, and his sudden appearance leads the apes to believe that he's Semos, the prophesied first chimpanzee, and effectively their deity. As a result, the awestruck apes cease their hostility. The conflict shifts back to the Oberon, where Thade pursues Pericles and injures him. Leo follows, resulting in Thade becoming trapped in the control room. With no way out, Thade is left to his fate. Saying goodbye to his friends, Leo then uses Pericles' undamaged space pod to attempt to return through time. He crash lands in what seems to be Earth, only to discover a dystopian twist. Washington, D.C. is transformed, with the Lincoln Memorial now bearing the likeness of General Thade. Confounded by this altered reality, Leo is surrounded by ape police and civilians, leaving him to grapple with the drastic changes to his world.
Don't want it to be a sequel, it's not a remake. There's something about the material of Planet of the Apes which is very strong, and the idea of sort of reimagining this mythology and just coming at it from a different way and looking at it in a different way was very exciting to me.
Burton's Planet of the Apes explores themes of power, rebellion, and the inversion of societal norms. The film delves into the dynamics of oppression and the fight for equality, with the relationship of Leo and Ari highlighting issues of empathy and cross-species understanding. The makeup and special effects designed by Rick Baker are standout elements, offering a significant update to the ape characters, and the realistic and expressive prosthetics allow for greater emotional range in the performances.
All my emotions can be done in this mask. It contours to every part of my face, which I thought was brilliant, because if I smile, you can actually tell that I'm smiling through the mask. If I'm frowning like this, you can actually see a scowl up here. And that was brilliant on Rick Baker's part.
With mask acting, you have to project through the makeup, and that is an extraordinary challenge. You have to reinvent the expressions, so you kind of spend some time looking in the mirror and working on what your new piece of equipment is doing.
It's incredibly and way more comfortable than you would think, actually. I mean, I don't find it that bad to wear, and I forget that I'm wearing it a lot.
Another positive has to be the film's production design, which is lush and detailed, creating a rich, immersive world. But the movie remains a polarizing entry in the franchise.
A lot of what we're doing on this picture is very experimental, and I think that will be extended into the action, into the motion. I don't think anyone's ever seen the kind of movement that we're putting into him.
While it introduced new visual innovations and attempted to refresh the story for a new audience, it ultimately fell short of capturing the original's philosophical depth and narrative strength. And the controversial ending, which reimagined the original's iconic twist, left many viewers puzzled and dissatisfied, as it lacks clear resolution and explanation.
Making this movie work is a certain seeing things through the eyes of your lead character. Mark Wahlberg is impressive to me in the movies that he's done, and he has a real gravity to him and a strength and a kind of a clarity that we feel goes really good set against this Planet of the Apes.
I met Tim for literally 5 minutes. I said, I'd do anything you want, and I left crossing my fingers, hoping that if he did want me to play the part, that I just wouldn't have to wear a loincloth. That was the only thing I was worried about.
Mark Wahlberg's performance as Leo Davidson is competent, but lacks the charisma and depth needed to anchor the film, while Helena Bonham Carter brings nuance to Ari, providing one of the film's more memorable and sympathetic characters.
Helena Bonham Carter is another ape. I just feel like she would bring a real strength and sensitivity.
And she's great. She's really fun, and she's got a great sense of humor, too. I think it was a key thing when you have that makeup on.
Leo gets captured, and I meet Leo, and in fact save his life, and recognize in him, I think, a similarly sort of rebellious spirit to my own.
To see you on the street, they kill you on sight. You stay here, you're already dead.
Portraying the orangutan in Limbo, Paul Giamatti is a major standout who steals the show. He infuses Limbo with a distinctive blend of humor and sly cunning, leveraging a strong comedic timing and expressive facial features to great effect.
We put together Ape School. The purpose of it was to teach movement.
We really want to create kind of a new character to where it's incorporating primate and ape traits with human traits.
Our apes are going to move much more realistically, and we did have a school to train all of the actors in the movement.
When it comes to Tim Roth, he delivers a menacing portrayal of General Thade, infusing the character with intense hostility and complexity.
Thade is the general of the army, he's the head of the military, and he finds humans disgusting. They're to him monsters.
He's the villain of the piece, but he definitely represents the sort of the purity of the ape culture on a certain level.
Tim Burton's direction brings a distinctive gothic and surreal aesthetic to the film, which is visually striking, but sometimes detracts from the narrative.
I mean, obviously he brings a visual sense that he has to it, but a lot of the time those guys aren't necessarily great directors to work with as an actor. But he's great to work with as an actor, and one of the main things is just how much fun he's having. And he communicates that to you, and that's a really important thing, especially when you have a monkey mask on. It's nice that the guy is really right there with you.
Burton's unique style is evident in the elaborate set designs and atmospheric visuals, but the film's pacing and storytelling suffer from a lack of coherence.
I mean, I love Colleen Atwood, and I think she is a real genius. I have I think, kind of hip and trendy costume, which I love because a lot of it, everything's slightly off, all the angles are asymmetric. And you enter, well, the planet of the apes is this, the whole essence of it is our world, but turned upside down.
Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes is an ambitious reimagining that excels in visual style and special effects, but falters in narrative execution. Despite strong performances from the cast, the film's disjointed plot and controversial ending prevent it from reaching the heights of its predecessors.
Well, it's time for me to go to work now.
Mr. Duncan, wait, we're not finished.
Get your hands off me, you damn dirty human. Haven't I shown you enough? Do you want more? I'll give you more. But consider this a warning.
Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained, and today we're embarking on a journey into the heart of one of the most ambitious and surprisingly profound reboots in recent history, with a look at 2011's Rise of the Planet of the Apes. When we hear the words reboot and apes taking over the world, one might think we're heading into a territory that's been overtrodden, filled with cliches and mindless spectacle. But this film, penned by the dynamic duo Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, is not monkeying around. It's a cinematic endeavor that dares to swing through the vines of deep, thought-provoking themes, while packing a punch with its action and emotional depth. Directed by Rupert Wyatt, a filmmaker who, prior to this, was known for his more understated work like The Escapist, the film marked a significant leap in both his career and the art of filmmaking. What Wyatt brings to the table is a remarkable blend of storytelling finesse and technological innovation, demonstrating an uncanny ability to handle a large-scale project, balancing the demands of a blockbuster with the sensitivity of a character-driven drama. His process on the film was a unique amalgamation of meticulous planning and embracing the innovative strides in motion capture technology, which played a pivotal role in bringing the apes to life, enabling Rise to swing past many expectations as both a critical and commercial juggernaut. It not only garnered acclaim for its innovative use of technology and compelling narrative, but also raked in a significant box office haul, far exceeding its budget and paving the way for its equally impressive sequels. The film didn't just use motion capture, it revolutionized it, effectively allowing for an unprecedented level of emotional expression for non-human characters, bridging the gap between animation and live action in ways previously unimagined. It's a cleverly crafted narrative that weaves together the threads of scientific ambition, ethical dilemmas, and the complexities of freedom and oppression. It's about as subtle as a gorilla in a china shop, but it's got the brains of a chimpanzee and the heart of an orangutan, diving into a story that challenges our very notions of what it means to be human, what it means to communicate, and what happens when the oppressed decide they've had enough. The script, a rare gem in the world of reboots and sequels, manages to take a premise that could easily have descended into B-movie territory and elevates it into something that's both intellectually and emotionally engaging. It's a tightrope walk of narrative skill, balancing character development, plot progression, and thematic exploration with the grace of a trapeze artist. As we break down this beast of a film, we'll delve into how it reimagines the lore of the Planet of the Apes, analyze its characters, and the science behind the simian flu virus that ravages humanity. Beginning with a prologue set in the jungle, we witness the brutal capture of a chimpanzee for research as her saddened family look on helplessly. We're then whisked away to Genesis, a vanguard of genetic therapy, where the scientific odyssey begins. Here, the female ape, dubbed Number 9, emerges as a beacon of progress. Infused with a revolutionary drug, ALZ-112, she exhibits an enviable tranquility and sociability, diverging from her primal counterparts. Her intellectual prowess shines as she begins mastering the Towers of Hanoi puzzle, a true testament to her enhanced cognition. Enter Will Rodman, portrayed with earnest zeal by James Franco, a visionary scientist who persuades his boss Steve Jacobs, a compelling David Oyelowo, of the drug's potential. A dedicated and compassionate researcher working at Genesis, Will is driven by a personal mission to find a cure for Alzheimer's, motivated by his father's struggle with the disease. And James Franco brings a blend of intensity and vulnerability to the role, capturing the passion of a researcher and the emotional turmoil of a son watching his father's decline. Rodman's pitch to the board of directors at Genesis is nothing short of a scientific serenade, outlining the drug's miraculous ability to spur neurogenesis, a rare phenomenon, promising a solution for illnesses like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's.
In biology, this is called neurogenesis. Here at Genesis, we call it the cure to Alzheimer's.
The only visible telltale sign of the drug's influence, of course, is the mystical green sparkle in the subject's eyes, leading them to calling Number 9 Bright Eyes. ALZ-112 represents a significant leap in neuroscientific research and is portrayed as a gene therapy drug, implying that it works on the genetic level. Gene therapy typically involves the insertion, alteration, or removal of genes within an individual's cells to treat diseases. In the case of ALZ-112, it introduces genetic material that promotes the growth and repair of neurons. The primary function of ALZ-112 is to stimulate neurogenesis, the process of generating new neurons. In adult humans, neurogenesis is limited and occurs in specific areas like the hippocampus, a region crucial for memory and learning. The drug is effectively designed to target these regions, enhancing the natural growth of neurons and even initiating neurogenesis in areas where it doesn't typically occur. From what we see, 112 appears to use a virus vector for delivering its genetic payload into the brain cells, as viruses are efficient at penetrating cell membranes and inserting genetic material into the DNA of a host. The green flecks in the eyes of subjects treated with ALZ-112 suggests a genetic alteration, an unintended integration of the viral genetic material into the host genome that ends up leading to other genetic changes. These are responsible for the enhanced cognitive abilities seen in Bright Eyes, suggesting a broader impact on gene expression related to brain function.
All I need is your approval for human trials.
Well, for this, you're gonna need the board's approval. You only get one shot.
One shot is all I need.
As we return to the lab, the senior ape caretaker, Robert Franklin, portrayed with an endearing blend of warmth and frustration by Tyler Labine, tries to extract Bright Eyes from a sanctuary. Unfortunately, her unexpected aggression and subsequent chaotic sprint through Genesis, culminating in a tragic display of primal fury and a fatal encounter with the building security, casts a long, ominous shadow over the drug's future. In a swift and stark reversal, Jacobs, shaken by the spectacle, declares the drug project defunct, much to Rodman's dismay. The ambitious head of Genesis exemplifies corporate greed and the ethical ambiguities of profit-driven scientific research, with David Oyelowo embodying the cold, calculating side of corporate ambition. Despite Rodman's fervent pleas, Jacobs remains unyielding as he orders the termination of the remaining test subjects. The plot thickens as Robert ends up revealing a surprising discovery to Will, a baby ape hidden in the cell of Bright Eyes. This revelation turns their assumptions on their head. The aggression of Bright Eyes was not a side effect of the drug, but a maternal instinct to protect her offspring. Tyler Labine embodies a sense of humanity and conflicted morality to his role as Robert, a lab technician caught between the demands of his job and his ethical considerations. Dealing with the guilt of having terminated 12 chimps and unable to bring himself to harm the infant, Robert passes the burden to Will and quits, who, burdened with compassion, decides to bring the baby ape home.
Jacobs made me put down the other 12. I'm done. Be my guest.
At Will's residence, where he cares for his father Charles, a heartrending portrayal by John Lithgow, who's grappling with Alzheimer's, a new bond begins to form. Charles, with a twinkle of playfulness, christens the baby ape Caesar, hinting at a Shakespearean affinity, but the name actually ends up being prophetic, with the ape and his namesake sharing more similarities in their characters, which we'll explain towards the end. It goes without saying that the legendary John Lithgow skillfully portrays the confusion and frustration of a character grappling with a neurodegenerative disorder, bringing a heart-wrenching realism to Charles's struggles. Inheriting his mother's modified genetics, Caesar displays staggering cognitive leaps, mastering self-feeding in a mere 2 days. His stay with Will, initially temporary, stretches to a few years, during which Caesar, brought to life by an expressive performance from Andy Serkis, blossoms into a half-grown, intelligent being, adept at conveying complex thoughts through sign language.
Right away, Caesar displayed signs of heightened intelligence. By 18 months, Caesar was signing up to 24 words. Caesar continues to show cognitive skills that far exceed that of a human counterpart. He completed the Lucas Tower in 15 moves, a perfect score.
Andy Serkis, the phenomenal pioneer in motion capture performance, infuses Caesar with a profound sense of humanity. His ability to convey complex emotions through his physicality is central to making Caesar a relatable and sympathetic character, and the linchpin of the narrative. It's important to note that Caesar's intellectual ascendancy is contrasted with Charles's losing battle with Alzheimer's, and following a distressing incident involving his nurse, Will, in a daring move born out of desperation, takes ALZ-112 canisters stored in their shed and administers it to Charles. Miraculously, he witnesses his father, once lost in the fog of Alzheimer's, find clarity at the piano keys.
Now, if I can sneak some...
I will! I'm not sick anymore.
There's nothing down.
Charles's condition serves as the emotional and motivational backdrop for Will's research, and his interactions with Caesar highlight the complexities of memory, aging, and familial bonds. Parallel to this, Caesar's curiosity and longing for the world beyond lead him to an escapade in the neighbor's backyard. This innocent venture, however, spirals into chaos when the neighbor, Hunsaker, portrayed with palpable agitation by David Hewlett, confronts Caesar and injures his leg. Amidst the turmoil, Will and Charles intervene, rescuing Caesar, but not without consequences, and the pivotal moment juxtaposes the burgeoning divide between human and ape, and the inevitable clash of the two worlds. Resorting to subterfuge to secure medical attention for Caesar, Will takes him to a zoo, where a vet, Caroline Arana, portrayed with an astute charm by Frida Pinto, enters the fray. Caroline's encounter with Caesar unveils the ape's growing proficiency in sign language, a skill so advanced that he even slyly suggests through gestures that Will and Caroline should consider dining together.
Okay, what's she saying now?
He thinks that you and I should have dinner together.
She also brings a perspective grounded in animal welfare and ethics, often offsetting Will's scientific zeal, with Frida Pinto's portrayal reflecting a balance of professional confidence and personal warmth, contributing significantly to the film's positive human dimension. In a bid to quell Caesar's growing restlessness, a trip across the iconic Golden Gate Bridge to a redwood forest is arranged. Here, a poignant moment unfolds as Caesar, initially clinging to Will, extends his arm in a gesture of supplication, seeking permission to explore the wonders of the woods. With a nod from Will, Caesar joyfully ascends into the treetops, symbolizing his burgeoning independence and deep respect for his adoptive father. Fast forward 5 years, and the dynamics have evolved. Caroline is integrated into the Rodman household, and Caesar, now donning human attire, reflects an intriguing amalgamation of ape and human traits. A routine forest visit unveils Caesar's inner turmoil, sparked by a confrontation with a dog which he notices has a lead like him. When the ape asks if he's a pet, Will explains he's not, and goes on to say that he was his father. Wanting to ease his confusion, Will ends up taking him to the lab and admits his mother and others like her were killed there, which is why he took him in.
My mother's dead. Thing is, she was given medicine, like the medicine I give to Charles. She passed it on to you. That's why you're so smart.
Meanwhile, Charles faces a grim reality. The initial success of 112 wanes as his condition deteriorates, prompting Will to conceive a more potent variant. Tragedy then strikes closer to home when Charles, ensnared in the clutches of dementia, tries to drive Hunsaker's car, which ends in calamity, setting the stage for a dramatic escalation in the already fraught relationship between the Rodmans, their extraordinary ape, and a world unprepared for the repercussions of their scientific endeavors. Witnessing the altercation from his attic vantage point and observing his adoptive grandfather being aggressively confronted by their neighbor, the primal instincts of Caesar begin to surge. Unsurprisingly, he leaps into action, displaying a ferocity unseen before, culminating in a violent attack that results in Hunsaker losing a finger. The tension reaches a crescendo as Charles, recognizing Caesar, pleads with him to stop, leading to a moment of clarity for the ape.
It's okay.
The incident inexorably alters Caesar's fate, leading to a court-mandated relocation to a so-called primate sanctuary. But the reserve, under the dubious management of John Landon, portrayed by Brian Cox, and his son Dodge, Tom Felton, embodying a youthful cruelty, is a far cry from a haven. Unfortunately, the ape feels betrayed at having been abandoned for trying to protect his family, and despite Will assuring him that he'd be back in a couple of days, Caesar howls with sadness. Brian Cox brings an air of pragmatic indifference as a sanctuary owner, highlighting the bureaucratic and uncaring side of animal management, while Felton, known for playing antagonistic roles, effectively channels a sense of entitlement and cruelty as Dodge. Dodge's brutal treatment of Caesar, including his continued insults and a cruel episode with a fire hose, starkly contrasts with the nurturing environment provided by Will. Here the ape realizes that not all humans are compassionate, beyond that some are cold-hearted. After being told by the court that it would be 90 days before he could appeal Caesar's effective imprisonment, left without a choice, Will turns to his boss. In a huge gamble, he confesses his covert experimentation to Jacobs and pitches the need for renewed testing, leveraging the drug's potential to augment human intelligence.
My father didn't just recover, he improved.
You mean increased intelligence?
It's not conclusive, but yes.
Meanwhile, in the hostile environment of the sanctuary, Caesar encounters Rocket, portrayed by Terry Notary, the alpha male who forcefully asserts his dominance, and an insightful orangutan, Maurice, played by Karen Konoval, who shares Caesar's knowledge of sign language. These interactions mark the beginning of Caesar's deeper understanding of his kind and his place among them. At the same time, back at Genesis, we see the development of ALZ-113, the next iteration of the drug that catalyzed Caesar's intelligence. Overseeing the testing, Will selects an ape named Koba for the initial trial, but Koba's harrowing experience with the drug, coupled with an accidental exposure of Robert to ALZ-113, sets the stage for unforeseen consequences.
Apes have amazingly strong immune systems. Sorry about that. These guys are more resilient than I am.
Excuse me a sec.
ALZ-113 effectively represents an advanced and more aggressive evolution of its predecessor. Depicted as a modified airborne version of ALZ-112, 113, also known as the simian flu, is designed to stimulate neurogenesis and repair neurological damage. However, its effects, particularly on the apes, suggest a far more potent impact on cognitive functions. The simian flu is seen enhancing the cognitive abilities of apes by enabling their brains to self-repair and regenerate cells, leading to significantly increased intelligence. Of course, in the same way the genetic modification was passed on from Bright Eyes to Caesar, this advanced intelligence is also inheritable, passing on to the offspring of the affected apes, which opens a Pandora's box that will be impossible to contain. In contrast, the virus has a fatal impact on humans, attributable to a comparatively weaker human immune system. It should also be noted that there are parallels between the effects of the simian flu in humans and the characteristics of Ebola. Both diseases share traits of high contagion and the development of hemorrhagic fever as a primary symptom. In humans infected with ALZ-113, symptoms escalate from persistent nosebleeds to severe hemorrhaging from the eyes, ears, and mouth, ultimately leading to death. This could be due to the more efficient method of delivering the therapeutic genes into neural cells, or a broader range of genes being forcefully introduced, affecting various aspects of brain function. What is certain is that the genetic modifications induced by ALZ-113 appear to be more profound than those of ALZ-112, as indicated by the rapid and significant cognitive enhancements in Koba and the slow demise of Robert. As we cut back to the sanctuary, communicating with Karen Konoval's Maurice, who imbues the orangutan with understated wisdom and calm, making the ape a quiet yet powerful presence in the film. Through sign language, Caesar learns that they're taking some of the chimps to Genesis, further cementing the sense of betrayal he feels from Will. And when Caroline and Will arrive to see him and realize he might be getting mistreated, their attempt to rescue him are dashed by John, who tells them they can't leave without a court order. Feeling truly abandoned, it's here that Caesar begins to turn his back on his human family and hone his attention on the plight of the other apes. In a desperate attempt to reverse the inexorable decline of his father's health, Will brings home ALZ-113. However, Charles refuses the treatment and surrenders to the silent embrace of death that very night, reflecting the notion that there are some things that shouldn't be meddled with. The aftermath sees Will and Caroline sifting through his possessions, where Will's gaze lands on a copy of Julius Caesar, symbolizing the Shakespearean magnitude of the saga unfolding. Similar to Julius Caesar, Caesar the Ape is beginning to rise to a position of power and faces challenges to his authority and the loyalty of those around him. Both characters are central figures in their respective stories, driving the action and grappling with themes of leadership, loyalty, and revolution. At the primate sanctuary, after Dodge brings some friends and continues to torment the apes, the cunning Caesar steals a pocket knife from them without their notice. This act of thievery sets off a chain of events. Caesar liberates Buck, the mighty gorilla portrayed by Richard Ridings, who brings a sense of brute strength tempered by loyalty, and subsequently orchestrates a showdown with Rocket, the reigning alpha. In a dramatic display of power and strategy, Caesar asserts his dominance not through brute force, but through a calculated strike with a steel gas can, and by displaying that the gorilla was also on his side. As such, the dynamics of power shift as Rocket, recognizing the allegiances between Buck and Caesar, concedes his alpha status. Notary's physicality and expressive performance capture the initial aggression and eventual loyalty of Rocket, making him a dynamic and evolving presence in the ape community. And Caesar's ascendancy is further solidified as he develops a sense of unity and solidarity with the troop. His discovery of a walkway and control mechanisms for the enclosure's windows signifies his growing mastery over his environment and his growing need for emancipation. As Will does his best to confront a moral dilemma at Genesis, Jacobs, blinded by the allure of profit, disregards Will's concerns about the potential impact of ALZ-113 on humans, forcing the frustrated and disillusioned Will to resign in protest.
These tests need to be contained. You have no idea what kind of damage it can do to people.
Well, that is why we test it on chimps.
At the same time, Robert, who returned to Genesis and was inadvertently exposed to the virus, begins to exhibit alarming symptoms. Looking for Will at the Rodman residence, he encounters Hunsaker instead. A sneeze, seemingly innocuous, becomes a vector of contagion, hinting at the looming pandemic, with Robert's subsequent demise in his apartment foreshadowing the widespread ramifications of the virus they created. Much to his surprise, after bribing the caretaker, Will's attempt to remove Caesar from the sanctuary ends in an unexpected refusal. You see, Caesar, now fully awakened to his identity and purpose, chooses to stay and turns his back on him. This act, seen by the other apes, emboldens him to chant at Caesar in appreciation. The plot then escalates with a thrilling blend of rebellion and intelligence, and as the sun sets, he instructs Rocket to feed the hungry chimps with cookies he'd stolen, and begins to execute a multi-level daring escape. He manages to infiltrate Will's home, stealing the potent 113 from the refrigerator, and returns to the preserve to share this intellectual boon with his fellow apes. Hilariously, he makes sure to damage Hunsaker's vehicle as he left, before releasing the canisters in the sanctuary. The following day, John observes the apes, now all with green eyes, engaging in an assembly that resembles a conference, a scene he dismisses as mere animal eccentricity. And it's here the apes, poised to return to their cages, witness Caesar's defiance against Dodge, their abusive caretaker. In a climactic moment, as Dodge lashes out with the iconic line,
"Take your stinking paw off me, you damn dirty ape!"
Caesar retorts with a thunderous "No!" His first audible word, marking a turning point in the ape revolution. While Dodge electrocutes himself trying to tase Caesar, who responds by hosing him down, in a surprising turn of mercy, Caesar actually spares Rodney, who'd been gentle with the apes, confining him to a cage instead. As dawn breaks, Will's discovery of the deserted facility, the open canisters, and the terrified Rodney saying that Caesar spoke sets off an alarm bell, causing him to swiftly alert the authorities, sensing the gravity of the situation. Meanwhile, Caesar, now a leader of a burgeoning ape uprising, orchestrates a division of his forces. He sends Buck, the formidable gorilla, to the zoo to rally more apes, while he leads another contingent to Genesis, the epicenter of the saga. The tactical move effectively highlights their evolving strategy and cohesion under Caesar's leadership. The narrative converges as Jacobs, oblivious to the chaos, arrives at Genesis, only to find it under the dominion of Caesar and his newly liberated 113 enhanced apes. This pivotal moment perfectly encapsulates the film's central theme, the collision of human ambition with the untamed force of nature, embodied by the rise of the apes. The crescendo of the uprising unfolds with the police, grappling with the unprecedented challenge, calling for reinforcements. In a bid to quell the rebellion, Jacobs commandeers a police helicopter, while below, Caesar's motley crew of chimps, orangutans, and gorillas, now a formidable assembly, advances with a noble intent to avoid human casualties. Right now, they do not want war, only freedom. But with humanity unwilling to give up dominion that easily, it seems as though war is inevitable. Meanwhile, Will and Caroline, piecing together the news of the ongoing turmoil, deduce that Caesar is steering the apes towards their familiar haven, the Redwood Forest, accessible via the Golden Gate Bridge. As the apes approach the bridge seeking only their freedom, a tactical standoff ensues. Caesar, displaying his burgeoning military acumen, splits his forces again. One faction ascends the suspension cables, while another daringly swings beneath the bridge, effectively outmaneuvering the police blockade. Despite the brutality with which the officers treat the apes, Caesar continues to instruct them not to kill the officers and respond with the same malice, but merely to disarm them. It's here that in a dramatic aerial pursuit, Jacob spots Caesar and orders a targeted attack with a bloody Gatling gun, believing that the fall of Caesar would demoralize the apes. However, in a display of loyalty and bravery, Buck sacrifices himself to bring the helicopter down, a poignant moment that leaves Caesar mourning the loss of a comrade and finally understanding that peace with humanity was likely impossible.
Come on. Come on.
Christopher Gordon brings a menacing and scarred presence to Koba, effectively portraying the character's aggression and deep-seated anger resulting from past abuse, and angered by everything they've seen. As the apes head to their new sanctuary, Caesar gives Koba permission to knock the crippled helicopter and Jacobs into the watery depths below. At the same time, Will navigates the chaos-ridden bridge to reach the forest and is attacked by Koba, who is forced to back down at the sight of his leader. His reunion with Caesar is laced with bittersweet emotion and a pivotal revelation. As Will pleads with Caesar to return home, Caesar, embracing his destiny, utters,
"Caesar is home."
A profound assertion of his newfound independence and identity. It signifies his acceptance of his true nature and his role as a leader, and the moment underscores a central theme of the film, the search for identity and belonging. In this moment, Caesar realizes that his home is not with humans, but with his own kind, in a place where they can live freely and on their own terms, something Will is forced to accept. Caesar is effectively evolved from a submissive, innocent being into a leader who challenges the existing order, a clear mirror to that of Julius Caesar, his namesake, who was also a transformative figure in his world. The portrayal of Caesar as a thoughtful leader who must navigate complex social dynamics and make difficult decisions for the well-being of his community draws a parallel to the Shakespearean character's leadership and charisma. Additionally, the exploration of the consequences of rebellion and the struggle for freedom resonates with the themes of political power and the fallout of revolution in Shakespeare's play. Both Caesar the Ape and Julius Caesar become symbols of change, challenging the status quo and altering the course of history forever. As the narrative closes, the camera shifts to Hunziker, revealed to be a pilot and an unwitting vector of the ALZ-113 virus. His nosebleed at San Francisco International Airport, juxtaposed with the global destinations flashing on the departure boards, ominously hints at the impending pandemic. It's also important to note that intertwined with the main story is a subtle yet significant subplot, the ongoing reports of the Mars probe Icarus, now lost in space. This narrative thread, woven throughout the film, leaves audiences pondering the fate of the astronauts upon their eventual return to an irrevocably altered Earth, a fitting allegory to the Icarus myth and a nod to the unforeseen consequences of human ambition and experimentation.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes is the first live-action film that has its main character as a thoughtful, self-aware, feeling animal.
At its core, Rise of the Planet of the Apes is a gripping tale of scientific ambition, ethical dilemmas, and the quest for freedom. The film masterfully explores the consequences of humanity's relentless pursuit of scientific advancement, often at the cost of moral considerations, and does a remarkable job at getting you to sympathize with the animals. Caesar embodies the themes of identity, belonging, and the struggle for autonomy. His journey from a domesticated ape to the leader of an uprising is not just a physical transformation, but also a profound exploration of what it means to be sentient. I also really love how the film delves into the complexities of communication, showcasing how language and understanding can be both a tool for control and liberation, way before Caesar even releases ALZ-113 into the sanctuary.
Caesar is truly a new paradigm in filmmaking, and because of the extent of the technical challenges of making this movie and it merging with the creative.
We are breaking very new ground here. I think Weta have done something that's quite extraordinary.
Rise is a visual tour de force, largely due to its pioneering use of motion capture technology. The CGI apes are rendered by Weta Workshop with such detail and emotional depth that they become the heart and soul of the film.
He's one of those actors that's embraced the technology because he understands the potential of what it can achieve. And he's one of those actors that really understands that every nuance that he gives is conveyed onto the screen.
The facial expressions and body language of Caesar and his troupe, achieved through this breakthrough, add a layer of authenticity and immersion that was rare in CGI characters back then. I'm looking at you, Scorpion King. And the action sequences, especially the climactic scene at the Golden Gate Bridge, are a spectacle of well-choreographed chaos, blending CGI and practical effects seamlessly.
Trying to show this emotional journey of Caesar is actually a very subtle kind of thing, and it would be pretty much impossible to do if we didn't have Andy Serkis basically acting out that journey for us, and then we're able to replicate it.
The set design effectively captures the various worlds the story traverses. From the sterile and cold environment of the Genesis labs to the lush, natural beauty of the redwood forest where the apes find sanctuary, each setting is crafted to reflect the mood and themes of the film. The ape sanctuary, with its stark and oppressive cages, contrasts sharply with the freedom and naturalness of the forest, symbolizing the transition from captivity to liberation, making the environments characters in their own right.
It was a world first. We had to create the Golden Gate Bridge as a live, physically built set, but we then had to have performance-captured apes on that bridge, and we therefore had to use all of the technology that Weta brought to a real location.
Build all the anatomy for the creature, its skeleton, its muscles, the skin.
Even nerve bundles and stuff like that, because what we really try to do is fill the entire inside of the creature with the stuff that actually drives it.
The sound design is equally impressive. From the vocalization of the apes to the sound accompanying their movements, everything is engineered to be both realistic and expressive, effectively bringing them to life.
In trying to find a way of Caesar speaking so that it didn't feel too human-like, we had to experiment with the speed of delivery, connecting thought to word in a way that you believe an ape would do it. So we would then kind of work at what sounds believable and feels believable for Caesar's rhythm.
Caesar is home.
The editing is also tight and purposeful, managing the pace and ensuring that the story moves forward smoothly, while allowing enough time for character development and emotional beats. While the cinematography by Andrew Lesnie is noteworthy for its dynamic and immersive quality, capturing both the intimate moments of character interaction and the grand scale of the action scenes to great effect.
Unfortunately, because we were doing motion capture in the photography that we were doing, you couldn't just put cameras wherever you wanted to. So we ended up having a fixed row of cameras along the green screen wall, but there were also cameras that were on movable towers that we could kind of position in and out here.
This is our other calibration device. It's we call it the L-frame. It looks like the coordinate system and a graph. So we place it out here so the cameras can see it. And between the wand and the L-frame, we can figure out where we are.
The film succeeds on multiple fronts. Its story and themes provoke thought and discussion, its visuals set new standards in filmmaking technology, and its set design complements the narrative beautifully, creating a cohesive and immersive cinematic experience. It had a significant impact on the film industry. It revitalized the classic franchise with a fresh and thoughtful approach, blending action with a compelling narrative, and its success paved the way for its sequels, which continued to explore and expand upon the themes and storylines, while helping to bridge the gap between them and the original series. From its engaging narrative and character development to its technical achievements in music, sound design, editing, and cinematography, the film ends up being both entertaining and thought-provoking, leaving a lasting impression on viewers. It's a script that takes a well-worn franchise and breathes new life into it, managing to do something prequels and sequels often fail to achieve, respecting its source material while charting its own course. In the hands of Jaffa, Silver, Wyatt, and Serkis, the story of Caesar became not just another blockbuster, but a thoughtful exploration of what it means to be both human and humane.
At one point, we looked into using real apes, and for a variety of reasons, we just didn't do it.
Of course, it would be an irony to tell the story of the exploited and the mistreated and use live apes to do that. I don't think that's where we wanted to go, so we had the choice of exploring what we could do with performance capture.
Hollywood, bless its unoriginal heart, continues to churn out reboots and sequels that don't improve on the original properties, clinging to the coattails of past glories, like they've got a fear of the new. Adapted from Pierre Buell's novel, the original 5-film marathon kicked off in '68 with Charlton Heston and Roddy McDowall under heaps of ape makeup.
Doctor, I'd like to kiss you goodbye.
All right, but you're so damned ugly.
The twist ending, Earth itself was a distant futuristic planet.
You blew it up! Oh, damn you!
Fast forward through some sequels, each more inventive and slightly bonkers than the last, and you've got yourself a franchise.
My people will crouch and conspire and plot and plan for the inevitable day of man's downfall, that we shall found our own armies, our own dynasty, and that day is upon you now!
Then came Burton's 2001 attempt, a reboot that felt more like a sleepwalk through the original, minus the punch of its twist ending.
Okay, let's go explain evolution to the monkeys.
It was like watching a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat, only the rabbit's dead, killed by the magician's assistant. However, in 2011, Rise of the Planet of the Apes came along, which we covered last week, followed by Dawn. Like a glimmer of hope in a sea of creative bankruptcy, they're a masterclass in how to breathe new life into a tired franchise. Instead of rehashing the same old story, the films zoom out for the long view, detailing how Earth became a planet of apes, starting from our own era. They demonstrated that you don't need to cling to the past. Sometimes a fresh start, a tight script and a focus on character development is all you need to tell a gripping story.
Caesar, if you don't go, it'll be all out war. War has already begun. Apes started war.
In Dawn, a decade post-Rise, and the ALZ-113 virus has done a number on humanity, with only 1 in 500 immune lottery winners still kicking. Meanwhile, the apes are thriving, building their own civilization. Our protagonist, Caesar, brought to life by mocap maestro Andy Serkis, is chilling in the Muir Woods, just a swing away from San Francisco. He's got his ape squad, including his son Blue Eyes, trustworthy Maurice, and Lieutenant Cobra, played by Toby Kebbell, who's got more facial scars than a pirate. Triggering a deer stampede, they begin a hunt, and in a forest frenzy, Blue Eyes chases one but ends up getting attacked by a bear. Caesar dives in, but it's actually Cobra who plays the hero, turning the bear into a shish kebab. Back at their treetop utopia, the apes are living the dream. They've got houses, an ape school run by Maurice, the orangutan version of Aristotle, and a healthcare plan for Cornelia, Caesar's wife, played by Judy Greer, who's busy bringing a new ape into the world. Having a moment with Maurice, Caesar reflects on their journey, reminiscing about the human days and how it had been 2 years since they'd last seen one. At the same time, Blue Eyes and his pal Ash, son of Rocket, bump into Carver, a human who's as calm as a cat in a bathtub. Panicked, Carver shoots Ash, and the gunshot is like ringing the dinner bell for chaos, drawing both the apes and Carver's human crew, led by Malcolm, in a tense face-off. But luckily for the humans, Caesar spares their life by telling them to go.
Go! Go!
Amidst the scramble, Malcolm's son Alexander drops his bag, and they all back away slowly. In response, Caesar sends Cobra and a couple of other chimps on a secret mission to tail the humans. Malcolm and his human crew, fresh from their meet and greet with the apes, head back to the ruins of San Francisco. Their leader, Dreyfus, played by the chameleon Gary Oldman, gets the lowdown on the talking apes, a problem that threatens their plan on kickstarting a nearby hydroelectric dam, hoping that it would power their efforts on rebuilding humanity.
He could have killed us, he didn't.
Maybe he kept us alive so they could follow us and they'd kill us all.
After a discussion with his community, we cut to Caesar, riding into the city on horseback, accompanied by all his apes, with a message for the humans that apes do not want war, but will fight if they must. His line in the sand, for them to simply leave them alone and stick to the city. As the charismatic and intelligent leader of the ape community, Caesar embodies the complexities of leadership in a turbulent world. He navigates the challenges of maintaining peace while also protecting his tribe. His ability to communicate with apes and humans alike sets him apart, showing his advanced intelligence and empathy, while his past experiences with humans, both good and bad, shape his decisions, often putting him at odds with those who distrust humanity. Unfortunately, on the other side, Dreyfus is stirring the pot. In fact, his first thought is to wipe out the apes to gain access to the dam, but Malcolm, ever the diplomat, convinces Dreyfus to give him 3 days to talk the apes into letting them access the dam.
And what if it backfires? What if he gets violent? I mean, how do you know that he'll even understand you?
He's more than just an ape.
Realizing the importance of this venture, his wife Ellie, a nurse with more guts than most, wants to tag along, in addition to their son Alex, who decides to join the world's most dangerous family outing. And so, heading back to the woods, Malcolm allows himself to be captured and brought before Caesar. He explains his peaceful intentions and their need to use the dam to prevent bloodshed, as the humans only had 2 to 3 weeks of power left, and although Caesar agrees, he demands they hand over their guns. Enter Koba, the ape with a face that's seen more lab experiments than a science textbook. He's essentially not buying what the humans are selling and questions Caesar's newfound fondness for them. Caesar, however, views this as a chance for both species to coexist and bond. It's important to note that Koba's distrust and aggression towards humanity create a stark contrast to Caesar's approach, ultimately leading to conflict within the ape community, while his tactical intelligence and fierce combat skills make him a formidable opponent. As the humans set up camp in the woods, Carver, still reeling from his previous encounter, but the only one that worked at the dam before the apocalypse, joins in, antagonizing Malcolm and Ellie as they reflect on their losses from the virus.
It was a virus created by scientists. The chimps didn't really have a say in the matter.
Spare me the hippy-dippy bullshit.
With Caesar and his crew gearing up for another hunt, Koba sneaks off with a couple of buddies to do some reconnaissance in human territory, where they discover the humans' armory. Ever the master of disguise, he plays the role of a goofy chimp to prevent 2 armed men from shooting him, and when they tell him to scram, he leaves, but not before his snarl makes a comeback, foreshadowing trouble.
2, 1.
Back at the dam, Malcolm, Foster, and Carver are clearing a blockage, managing to blow it out, but getting trapped by the blast in the process. Somehow, in a moment of interspecies diplomacy, Ellie convinces Caesar to help dig the humans out. With Malcolm thanking him for saving them, Caesar's adorable baby son wanders over to the humans. Ellie, Alex, Foster, and Malcolm are smitten, but Carver, not so much. When the little guy gets curious about Carver's hidden gun, he grabs it in full panic mode, and furious that he broke his rule, the leader disarms Carver and gives him a whack for good measure. While Malcolm manages to de-escalate the situation, tossing the gun into the river, Caesar orders him to hit the road.
Human, leave now!
However, human-ape relations take a turn when Malcolm and Ellie find him tending to a sick wife Cornelia. Ellie, with her medical know-how, offers antibiotics, and in a moment of vulnerability and desperation, Caesar allows them another day to work on the dam in return for helping Cornelia. While the apes also agreed to help them in their endeavor, for his hostility and recklessness, Carver is forced to stay in the truck. An architect and one of the primary protagonists, Malcolm represents the voice of reason, compassion, and peace. His diplomatic efforts to build a bridge between humanity and the apes, showcasing his deep understanding and respect for Caesar's community.
Do not trust you.
I don't blame you, but believe me, we are not all like him.
Malcolm's wife and a former nurse at the CDC plays a crucial role in providing medical assistance to both humans and apes, symbolizing the helpful intersection of human and ape worlds. Her willingness to help others regardless of species add a layer of humanity and compassion to the story, while their son Alex represents innocence and the potential for change in the younger generation. His interactions with Maurice and the other apes, especially his fascination and empathy, contrast with the prevailing fears and hostilities. As the humans return to the dam to finish what they started, coming back from his city escapade, Cobra knocks Alex over, forcing Maurice to step in. The orangutan and close advisor to Caesar, Maurice, serves as a voice of wisdom and caution. The character is instrumental in maintaining the moral compass of the ape community, and Maurice's ability to empathize and his desire for peaceful coexistence with humans provides a balanced perspective in the Ape Council. But feeling like Caesar's playing favorites with humanity, Cobra confronts him, leading to a heated moment where Caesar defeats him in battle, but stops short of breaking their cardinal rule of no ape killing another ape.
Caesar love humans more than apes.
Unfortunately, not one to let things go, Cobra returns to the human compound and plays the fool again for the same two men, this time taking their rifle and eliminating them, before finding Carver and exacting revenge in a fit of rage. Here, Cobra's actions effectively escalate the tension, setting the stage for a showdown that blurs the lines between man and beast, testing loyalties and challenging the very nature of both species. As night falls, Malcolm and his crew, feeling like electricians of the year, have got the generator humming and music playing. Caesar then shows them the city lights flickering back to life, while Cornelia is also on the mend. As Caesar's wife and the queen of the ape community, Cornelia represents the nurturing and compassionate aspects of their society. She's a grounding presence for him, reminding Caesar of the importance of family and community.
Run.
But just when things are looking up, Cobra sneaks up with a rifle and shoots Caesar, who takes a dramatic tumble from the tree. In an attempt to rile up conflict, he leaves behind the rifle in Carver's cap, implicating him in the attack. Sensing the oncoming danger, Maurice tells Malcolm, Ellie, and Alex to run as the ape community descends into chaos. At the same time, seizing the moment, Cobra spins a tale of human betrayal, blaming them for Caesar's fall, before rallying the troops to storm the city.
Humans, kill Caesar! Burn Apes!
You see, Cobra is marked by his deep-seated hatred for humans, stemming from his traumatic past in laboratories, with his scars, both physical and psychological, driving his hateful actions. Meanwhile, the humans are having a power party, dancing like they've never seen a light bulb before. In a moment of solitude, Dreyfus checks his iPad, scrolling through memories of his family lost to the virus, reminding us that everyone's got a story. As the leader of the human survivors, he's driven by the desire to ensure the survival of his species. His actions are motivated by a deep fear and distrust of apes, and he represents the human tendency to resort to violence in the face of fear and the unknown.
Now they may have got their hands on some of our guns, but that does not make them men.
Unfortunately, the mood shifts when Cobra and his army crash the party. Dreyfus orders his men to open fire, and even uses a rocket launcher in the battle, but Cobra and his crew commandeer a tank and break through the gates. By the time that dawn breaks, Cobra's in full dictator mode, taking human prisoners and showing no mercy. He even tries to make the apes punish a rebellious human, but Ash, the ape with a conscience, refuses to play ball, saying it's not what Caesar would have wanted. Not a fan of disobedience, he then makes a tragic example out of him in his shocking balcony scene. Meanwhile, Malcolm and his family miraculously find Caesar, who's not ready to check out just yet, and take him to his old human home. As they tend to Caesar, Cobra's reign of terror continues in the city, with gun-toting apes and dissenters loyal to Caesar locked in a bus. Witnessing the chaos, Blue Eyes gets a piece of advice from Maurice to be wary of Cobra and protect himself. And with Ellie needing supplies to perform surgery on Caesar, Malcolm decides to venture into the city, dodging apes with machine guns in an amazing sequence. In a bit of serendipitous luck, he bumps into Blue Eyes, who's got his gun aimed but just can't pull the trigger, which enables him to drop the bombshell that his father's still alive. In a mix of anger and relief, he follows Malcolm to Caesar, and is ready to attack the family upon seeing his injury, but his father explains it was Cobra all along.
Not human. Cobra.
Blue Eyes ends up going through a significant character arc. He evolves from a young and impulsive ape to a more understanding and mature individual, especially after witnessing the complexities of ape-human interactions and the consequences of conflict.
Always think ape better than human. I see how much like them we are.
Finding an old camera with footage of his younger self and his late human father, Will Rodman, Caesar gives a brief history lesson, reminiscing about the good man that Will was, much like Malcolm. Meanwhile, with the help of Blue Eyes, Maurice and the other apes stage a great escape from their prison and free the human captives, before rallying to Caesar, sharing Koba's latest plan to gather the other apes to his cause.
They need to get to the tower without being seen. I'm gonna take them through the subway. Let's go. No.
The tyrant is enjoying his power atop a tower, while Dreyfus and his crew have reached out to a nearby military force and are prepping to destroy its base with C4. As Caesar and his troop head to confront Koba, Malcolm stumbles upon Dreyfus and his men. In a last-ditch effort to prevent a war, he raises his rifle and orders him to stop. But Dreyfus, determined to save humanity, hits the big red button, killing himself, his men, and many apes in the explosion. The climax hits as Caesar faces Koba, who starts shooting wildly. Luckily, Caesar exploits his injury in a fierce battle and sends him hanging on for dear life. Koba tries to play the ape not kill ape card, but done with his betrayal, Caesar delivers the cold hard truth.
You are not ape.
And lets him fall. Malcolm, realizing the gravity of the situation, warned Caesar of the incoming military that Dreyfus had contacted, but Caesar admits the reality was that apes started the war, and it was not in humanity's nature to forgive. They share a moment of mutual respect and sadness at how close they'd been at uniting both their people, before Malcolm fades into the cityscape, leaving Caesar to preside over his kingdom. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is a sequel that ups the ante from its predecessor. It's a blend of thought-provoking themes and summer epic thrills.
I was obsessed with Planet of the Apes as a kid. It's like a lifelong obsession. And then when I came in, they actually had a very different version of the story. They had started in the post-apocalyptic world in San Francisco, and it wasn't really Caesar's story. And I said, well, I would make it Caesar's story the way that you did with Rise.
Matt Reeves, who turned Let Me In from a Swedish chiller into a Hollywood thriller, and recently gave us his take on Batman, was in the director's chair, mixing action and drama like a cinematic cocktail.
I thought that Andy Serkis was so amazing in Rise, and I thought that this opportunity to explore this particular idea, which was the one moment in time that could have become Planet of the Humans and the Apes, I thought that that was a really exciting story place.
The direction is as confident as a gorilla in a banana store, and he's not rushing through scenes. He lets the story breathe and characters develop, turning what could have been typical blockbuster fluff into a gripping tale with emotional depth. He understands the power of pacing and conflict, with the action hitting you like a freight train, making every burst of violence hit harder and mean more, and sticks clear of any contrivances.
There are also these stories where your point of attack comes in where you know the ending of the story. And when that happens, it changes the whole focus of what that story is about, because it no longer becomes about the narrative of what happened. It starts becoming about the narrative of, well, how do we get there? And why does that happen? And that's all about character. And so for me, it's actually not daunting, it's thrilling to know the ending, because then you know that the story becomes all about those little decisions that the characters make and all of the struggles that they're in. And you end up doing what is essentially a spectacle summer tentpole movie that's actually a character drama.
Dawn isn't just apes on horses with guns, though, let's be honest, that's pretty epic. It's a throwback to when sci-fi was intelligent and meaningful. It's loaded with subtext, a commentary on warfare that shows victory isn't always sweet, insights into leadership, the struggles of compromise, and a hefty dose of xenophobia, righteousness, betrayal, and community. Front and center is Caesar, played by Andy Serkis, juggling being a family man and the benevolent king of ape kind. And his betrayal is like watching Michelangelo paint with pixels. It's motion capture turned art.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes asks a central question, and that is, should one species be more important than another? Any kind of absolute belief system is fundamentally flawed because it doesn't take into account that people are different, and we have to embrace that and celebrate it.
Reeves was clever enough to keep the spotlight on Caesar, an ape with a foot in both worlds, grappling with the dark side of his own tribe as the drums of war start beating.
When I first started, I thought, well, why was I so affected by Caesar in the first film? And when I looked at the footage, and then when I worked with Andy in this film, what I realized is that Andy is just a brilliant actor. He's one of the best actors I've ever worked with.
He's managed to carve out every single scene is about getting right into the center of the drama.
Andy Serkis imbues Caesar with a profound depth of character, masterfully portraying the internal struggle between his innate compassion and the harsh realities of leadership. His performance is a nuanced blend of physicality and emotion, bringing a sense of gravitas and complexity to the character, making Caesar not just a believable leader, but a relatable one.
What they're doing is, every day, it's amazing to watch. But his commitment is extraordinary. Andy brings it every single day, every single take, whether the camera is on him or not. Incredibly generous guy.
Then there's Jason Clarke, playing an architect with a dream of lighting up San Francisco again, with Clark bringing a grounded, everyman quality to Malcolm, highlighting his role as a peacemaker. He portrays Malcolm as a thoughtful and empathetic character, driven by a sincere desire to bridge the gap between humanity and apes.
It manages to put you into Caesar's place, and the way Andy plays it makes that a whole lot easier, to let you in and assume him and assume his responsibilities, as well as Malcolm's as well. What would you do in this situation? How would it go down, and how would you feel?
But it's not all rosy. The older apes have a memory like an elephant and haven't forgotten the bad old days with humans, while the humans are eyeing the apes like they're the cause of all their woes. It's a classic tale of cultural animosity, with a dash of hatred and mistrust thrown in for good measure. Gary Oldman, known for his ability to fully embody his characters, portrays Dreyfus with a mix of authority and vulnerability. He reflects the desperation and fear of a leader under immense pressure, showing Dreyfus as a man driven to extreme measures by his determination to save humanity.
So I just see myself as a hero, and I'm just trying to actually save the world within the boundaries of this community that we've established. We're trying to rebuild and reconnect with limited resource.
Kerry Russell adds a layer of warmth and compassion to the story with Ellie, highlighting her caring nature and role as a nurturing figure in the midst of chaos. Russell's portrayal brings a sense of calm and reason, balancing the tension and conflict in the narrative.
I'm seeing it as this story of trying to understand the other side, but everyone's just trying to get by and have the same fundamental rights and protection and safety and whatever for their families.
While Cody Smith-McPhee imbues Alexander with innocence and curiosity, his portrayal is key in showcasing the potential for understanding and empathy between the two species, becoming a symbol of hope and the possibility of a peaceful future.
They have to go on this little adventure and try and help their civilization. But because I'm so young, it's not really a world that I can be left home while they go and do something. So I think little things like that will make it realistic and bring you into it a bit more.
On the ape side, Toby Kebbell delivers a powerful performance as Cobra, infusing the character with a palpable sense of anger and betrayal. His Cobra is complex, evoking both fear and sympathy, and Kebbell's nuanced acting highlights his tragic past and his transformation into a formidable antagonist.
Cobra hates humans. I mean, it's warranted. He's been abused. He doesn't know the outside world. He doesn't feel like an ape. And I think Cobra and Caesar have really bonded in finding out what it is to be an ape. So I think he holds that very true to himself. And humans disrupt that.
Nick Thurston's portrayal of Blue Eyes adds a layer of emotional complexity to the ape community, capturing the conflict of a young ape torn between loyalty to his father and the growing tensions within the ape society.
Rocket is a very faithful follower to Caesar, and he would do anything for Caesar. His sign is Rocket, and it's R over his heart, and it means that he will follow forever. He's not the smartest ape in the world, but he's got the biggest heart.
Terry Notary imbues Rocket with loyalty and strength, underscoring Rocket's dedication to Caesar and his family, while adding to the film's exploration of the bonds that hold the ape community together.
But the really cool thing for me, and the reason I wanted to play Maurice again, is that it followed through on that aspect of his character. He acts with great specificity, and he doesn't do anything gratuitously.
Much like the first movie, Karen Konoval's portrayal of Maurice is one of wisdom and patience. She brings a calming presence to the film as an advisor and confidant to Caesar.
That's really, to me, what the story is. It's about surviving and taking care of your family and your loved ones and protecting them, and how to let other people survive too. When you're just trying to protect your own family, how do you let other people survive too?
While Judy Greer gives Cornelia a subtle strength and presence. Although her role is not as prominent, her performance adds depth to the ape society and Caesar's personal life.
All of the concern with Andy was about realizing Caesar. It was about a performance. And so people have often said, oh, well, is what he does Caesar, or is Caesar this other thing that's also, what Weta does? And in terms of the performance part of it, it's all driven by what Andy does. He's just an amazing actor.
Thanks to motion capture technology from Weta that's come leaps and bounds since Gollum in The Lord of the Rings, another Serkis masterpiece, the apes steal the show with emotional depth that have put most human actors to shame.
In this story, given that he feels as much human as he does apes, and to me, the exploration of this story is this journey of Caesar as the seminal figure in ape history. He's almost like their Moses, and so this will be how he leads them through this next period.
In a world where superhero movies are a dime a dozen, and the final showdowns often feel as shallow as a kiddie pool, Dawn offered both a visual feast and characters you actually shed a tear for.
Darren, are you okay? Fight for Ape! Fight for Cobra. Cobra. Bullah in cage. The one with the gun.
We lost without a man and the captain is dead, sir!
Listen to me. You kill as many as you can.
War for the Planet of the Apes, the third installment in the rebooted Planet of the Apes series, stands as a monumental achievement in both storytelling and technical prowess, pushing the boundaries of what is possible in cinema. Directed by Matt Reeves and released in 2017, the film not only concludes the story of Caesar, the ape leader portrayed with astonishing depth by Andy Serkis, but also elevates the entire franchise to new heights. With the new movie, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which was shot in New South Wales, set to be released in 3 months' time, I thought we'd finish up with our coverage of the rebooted series.
In their time, humans were capable of many great things. But now, it is our time, and it is my kingdom. And I will conquer.
Apes hunt humans.
That is wrong. Together, you will die.
No, together, strong.
I'm also open to covering the original films, beginning with 1968's Planet of the Apes, featuring Charlton Heston. So if that's something you're interested in seeing over the next few months, please let me know in the comments below.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
What I love most about the rebooted series is that it masterfully subverts the narrative and thematic elements of the original films from the 1960s and 70s. This modern trilogy accomplishes a remarkable inversion, shifting the audience's empathy from the humans, who were the protagonists and victims in the original series, to the apes under Caesar's leadership. The shift is not only counterintuitive, considering the original films often portrayed apes as the antagonists or a terrifying other, but it also challenges the audience's preconceived notions about intelligence, civilization, and moral authority. The story picks up where its predecessor left off, with Caesar and his ape followers embroiled in a devastating conflict with human forces, led by a ruthless colonel, played with chilling intensity by Woody Harrelson. At the heart of War for the Planet of the Apes is its compelling narrative, which weaves together themes of revenge, empathy, and the quest for freedom. Unlike typical blockbuster fare, the film prioritizes character development and moral dilemmas of a sheer spectacle, resulting in a deeply emotional journey that challenges audiences to reflect on the nature of humanity and the bonds that unite us all. What sets this film apart is not just its narrative ambition, but also its groundbreaking use of technology. The production utilized cutting-edge motion capture to bring its ape characters to life, blurring the lines between digital and physical performance, which enables us to sympathize with their plight further. But War is not just a technical marvel, it's a film that challenges the conventions of its genre, offering a poignant commentary on the human condition. Its greatness lies in its ability to balance spectacle with heart, creating a cinematic experience that's both intellectually stimulating and deeply moving. Through its innovative production techniques, compelling storytelling, and profound thematic depth, the film marked a significant milestone in filmmaking, demonstrating the power of cinema to explore the most fundamental aspects of our existence. Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained, and as requested, today we're exploring probably my favorite movie in the rebooted series. "15 years have passed since the outbreak of the ALZ-113 virus, also known as the simian flu, which decimated human populations worldwide and led to the emergence of highly intelligent apes as depicted in Rise. Under the leadership of Caesar, a highly intelligent chimpanzee, the apes sought a peaceful coexistence with the remaining humans, However, this fragile peace was shattered by Koba, another chimp who, feeling betrayed by humans, incited conflict in Dawn. Despite moments of hope for harmony between humans and apes, symbolized by the bond between Caesar and a human named Malcolm, the revelation that Dreyfus had contacted a northern military base hinted at impending doom. Caesar's group now finds refuge in a command base within the woods, evading a determined Special Forces colonel leading the Alpha Omega military faction, intent on eradicating the ape population. This war has escalated to a critical juncture, marking a decisive battle for survival between humans and apes. 2 years after the skirmishes in San Francisco, the Alpha Omega forces, with the assistance of donkeys, apes that were formerly loyal to Koba, who, fearing reprisal from their own kind, betray the apes by aiding the humans, relentlessly hunt for Caesar's colony. The movie commences with a covert operation as Red, alongside other so-called donkeys, aids the army in their search for enemy strongholds. During their mission, they spot several apes on horseback and are about to launch an attack when they discover a trench, hinting at the proximity of a base. Prompted by the colonel's orders to commence firing, the army initiates their assault, employing both stealth and overwhelming force. Initially, the army's advanced weaponry gives them an edge, but the tide quickly turns when one of the chimpanzees manages to escape to a nearby base and summons reinforcements. The apes then counterattack vigorously, using smoke bombs, spears, and firearms taken from the soldiers, capitalizing on their high ground to overpower the human forces. The aftermath sees Red and 4 soldiers captured amidst a scene of devastation and numerous ape casualties, with Maurice revealing to a distraught Caesar that 63 lost their lives in the skirmish.
You're him. You're Caesar. We've been searching for you for so long.
Caesar is the heart and soul of the film. Evolving from the intelligent, compassionate leader in the earlier films, in this installment, he grapples with darker emotions of revenge, grief, and the heavy burden of leadership, while Maurice, the wise and gentle orangutan, continues to serve as Caesar's moral compass and confidant. A sniper known as Preacher is the first to speak among the captives, disclosing their long-term mission to find Caesar, whose existence some had started to doubt. But his terrified comrades urge him to halt talking, fearing imminent execution by what they perceive as mere animals. Here Caesar clarifies that he did not instigate the war, pinning the blame on Koba, an ape he'd previously killed for inciting the conflict. He then insists that his actions are purely defensive, aimed at safeguarding his species.
I fight only to protect apes.
Yeah? What about him?
Red boldly interrupts, proclaiming his lack of fear and asserting the colonel's absolute power and determination to annihilate the apes before being escorted away by a gorilla named Winter.
First, Caesar die, then all of you die.
Contrary to the expectations of the captured soldiers, they're set free with a message for their leader: vacate the woods and the bloodshed will cease, signaling Caesar's preference for peace over perpetual conflict.
They are the message, Maurice. He will see we are not savages.
Unfortunately, at the same time, Winter emerges, his head bloodied, claiming he was attacked by the traitor who then escaped. In response, Caesar and his group retreat to a more secure location hidden beneath a waterfall, where they pay tribute to their fallen comrades. During this period of mourning, Caesar's son Blue Eyes arrives back with their friend Rocket, bearing news from their expedition. They've essentially discovered an oasis, a sanctuary far from human territories, potentially offering a new beginning for the ape colony. And that evening, Rocket and Blue Eyes share details of their journey, describing the long trek, which involves crossing a vast desert, a natural barrier likely to deter human pursuit. Despite Winter's urgency to depart immediately for this promised land, the consensus is that a hasty migration without thorough planning could endanger the entire group. The journey was manageable for the pair due to their ability to remain undetected, but the risk of encountering humans increases significantly with the whole group in motion. Tragically, that very night, the tranquility is shattered as Alpha Omega soldiers, under the command of Colonel McCullough, stealthily approach the Apes' command base. The Colonel is the human antagonist of the film, but to label him merely as a villain would oversimplify Harrelson's complex performance. McCullough is effectively driven by a ruthless determination to preserve humanity at any cost, embodying the fear and desperation of a species on the brink of extinction. Caesar, vigilant and quick to react, spots lights and ropes signifying the soldiers' incursion, before entrusting the safety of his wife and younger son to Blue Eyes before setting off to confront the threat. As the soldiers advance, Luca, on guard duty, is alerted by Caesar to rally the others. Despite Blue Eyes and Rocket managing to neutralize some of the intruders, the grim revelation comes when they overhear Colonel McCullough erroneously proclaiming King Kong was dead on the radio. In a moment of confusion and horror, as he surveys the chimps he's mistakenly killed, the Colonel realizes his fatal error. He's not killed Caesar, but his family. Driven by rage, Caesar attempts to pursue the Colonel, climbing a rope to exact his vengeance. However, his efforts are thwarted when the Colonel severs the rope, denying him retribution. Distraught by the events, Caesar returns to the base, directing the apes to locate Cornelius. To his relief, he finds his boy unharmed and entrusts him to Leg's care, the lover of Blue Eyes, before embarking on a solo mission to confront McCullough. Meanwhile, he instructs the rest of the apes to proceed towards the desert, believing that his personal vendetta against the Colonel will divert attention from them and ensure their safe passage. Despite his insistence on going alone, citing the distraction his quest for McCullough would provide, he's unexpectedly joined by Maurice the orangutan, Rocket the chimp, and Luca the gorilla. Caesar initially refuses their company, determined to face the Colonel alone, but his companions are adamant about staying by his side. Each expresses a unique reason for their insistence. Luca believes he can aid in locating McCullough's ever-moving base. Rocket is prepared to offer his support in any confrontation, and Maurice insists on accompanying Caesar to ensure he remains true to his moral compass and makes it back alive.
I may not make it back.
As they advance, the apes come across a small encampment, marked by the presence of smoke. Their discovery leads to a confrontation with a solitary man who moves to aim his weapon at them, only to be swiftly neutralized by Caesar. Within the confines of the dwelling, they find a young girl, whom they later name Nova, bedridden and visibly scared. Maurice extends a gesture of kindness by offering her a doll, and significantly, Nova's attempt to speak but her inability to do so marks a crucial narrative development, foreshadowing its relevance to the climax. Despite Caesar's initial reluctance to bring Nova along, citing the dangers of their journey, Maurice insists on not abandoning her, highlighting his compassionate nature. Thus, Nova joins their group as they proceed.
We cannot take her, Maurice.
Their journey leads them to a military outpost where they encounter Winter, a defector who sided with the humans under the promise of safety from Red. This betrayal essentially enabled McCullough to infiltrate the Apes' base and kill Caesar's family. During the interrogation, Winter explains the Colonel's forces are moving towards a border, anticipating reinforcements from the north. But the situation escalates when Winter, spotting humans nearby, attempts to alert them. In a desperate bid to maintain control, the group restrain him, with Caesar ultimately silencing Winter permanently to prevent their discovery. Throughout these events, Caesar is tormented by visions of Koba, the deceased ape who betrayed their kind. These nightmares, featuring a bloodied and scarred Koba, echo his last words to Caesar, underscoring the internal conflict and the burden of leadership that he carries, haunted by past betrayals and the relentless pursuit of vengeance.
Ape, not kill ape.
Previously more inclined towards peaceful coexistence with humans, influenced by the kindness of his adoptive human family and the mutual respect shared with Malcolm from the earlier film, the relentless cycle of violence and loss has hardened Caesar's compassion. Of course, he's also burdened with guilt over killing Nova's presumed human father, which initially makes it difficult for him to face her. Opting to shadow the soldiers navigating through the snowy mountains, their journey is abruptly interrupted by the sound of gunfire. Seeking cover and puzzled by the commotion, they approach cautiously, only to discover 3 soldiers, shot and left in the snow. Among them, one clings to life, but like Nova, is unable to speak. Upon realizing the soldier's fate is sealed by his injuries, Caesar mercifully ends his suffering. In the midst of their investigation, a small figure, cloaked in a jacket, cunningly makes off with a rifle and one of the horses. The apes pursue it until they trap it within the confines of a derelict building, revealing the thief to be a tiny, elderly chimpanzee.
Bad ape.
Returning the stolen items, the chimp extends a gesture of kindness by offering his jacket to Nova. Astonishingly, he possesses the ability to speak like Caesar. He recounts his past life in a zoo and how he acquired the name Bad Ape from the frequent scoldings of humans, providing a glimpse into his unique backstory and survival through the chaos unleashed by the simian flu. What I love about Bad Ape is that he adds a layer of humor and pathos to the film, with his character providing levity in an otherwise dark narrative, while also highlighting the widespread effects of the simian flu beyond Caesar's group.
I'm okay.
He warmly refers to the group as friends and shares his food with them, which bears the label California Border. Curious about the origin of the food, Caesar inquires, prompting Bad Ape to reveal it was scavenged from what was once a human zoo, now repurposed as a quarantine camp. He recounts the harrowing things he witnessed there, not only the cruel treatment of fellow apes, but also the execution of infected humans attempting to gain entry. His story paints a grim picture of the camp as a place of death and disease, foreshadowing the dire events to come. Initially hesitant, he refuses to lead them to the camp. However, after learning about the tragedy that befell Caesar's family and sharing his own loss, a grief that Rocket also understands, Bad Ape consents to guide them.
You think you'll find him at Human Zoo? Maybe. Then maybe I take you.
In a poignant display of empathy and the potential for peaceful coexistence between the apes and humans, a stark contrast to the divisiveness sown by Cobra and the Colonel, Luca demonstrates kindness by placing flowers behind Nova's ears, eliciting a smile from her. I believe that to the apes, Nova represents innocence and the potential for harmony between humans and their kind. Her bond with Maurice and the others is touching, transcending the spoken word and underscoring the film's exploration of communication and connection beyond language. Her character challenges the notion of the other, symbolizing hope for a future where peace is possible. As their journey to the border camp continues, Nova begins to learn sign language from Maurice, showcasing a growing bond with the apes. Upon arriving at the camp, Caesar and Lucas scout for a strategic position, but are ambushed by two scouts. In the ensuing confrontation, Rocket and Luca manage to eliminate the threat, but Luca suffers a fatal injury in the process of defending Caesar. In a tender moment mirroring Luca's earlier act of kindness, Nova places the flowers in his ears as she mourns his impending death. Luca, comforted by his ability to protect Caesar, expresses a sense of fulfillment in his final moments, highlighting the sacrifices made in the name of loyalty and protection. Anguished by the consequences of his decisions, which resulted in his friend's death, Caesar shares with the group his initial preference to undertake the mission alone. It's here that Maurice, reflecting on Caesar's intense animosity towards the Colonel, suggests that such hatred is drawing parallels between Caesar and Kobo.
They must pay.
Disturbed by Luca's demise and Maurice's poignant observation, Caesar, driven by a mix of grief and determination, ventures alone to the camp under the cover of night. There he discovers apes from his clan, strung up on the mountain, revealing the grim fate that has befallen his entire group, now ensnared in bondage. In a sudden turn of events, Red ambushes Caesar, rendering him unconscious with a rifle strike, and upon awakening, he is confronted by McCullough, who expresses surprise at capturing the ape leader and criticizes him for abandoning his people. Caesar retorts, explaining his personal vendetta against the Colonel for the murder of his family, to which McCullough offers a hollow apology, admitting his intention was to eliminate Caesar.
You were angry at me for something I did that was an act of war, but you're taking this much too personally.
As Caesar grapples with the harsh reality of their predicament, he's forced into labor alongside his captured brethren, tasked with the daunting job of reconstructing part of the camp's wall. Amidst the toil, his gaze meets that of Lake and Cornelius, who are confined in separate enclosures designated for adults and children respectively. Under harsh conditions of starvation and dehydration, the apes, while shackled, are compelled to labor. An incident where an older ape inadvertently causes a structure to collapse leads him to being taken aside and whipped mercilessly by Red. Caesar's intervention, imploring Red to stop, sparks a collective act of defiance among the apes, who refuse to continue their work, resulting in Caesar being whipped in the older ape's stead. The Colonel then confronts him, demanding he order the apes back to work as Caesar appeals for the basic necessities of food and water for them. But McCullough's response is ruthless. He executes the older ape and is on the brink of killing Caesar when Lake and the others resume their labor to protect him. Unfortunately, as a form of retribution, Caesar is hung in full view of the apes, with Maurice, Bad Ape, Rocket, and the girl witnessing the scene from afar. Later that night, under the escort of Red and Breacher, Caesar is brought to McCullough's office in chains. During their discussion, he astonishes the colonel with his acumen, suggesting that the Northern soldiers were not coming to ally with McCullough, but to oppose him, before remarking on McCullough's lack of mercy.
Do you have any idea what your mercy would do to us? No matter what you say, you'd eventually replace us. That's the law of nature.
The colonel retorts, accusing Caesar of initially coming with the intent to kill him. However, Caesar counters, stating that he had indeed shown mercy by sparing McCullough's soldiers and proposing peace, only for McCullough to respond by murdering his family. Here the colonel reveals a deeply personal tragedy, describing how his own son, once a soldier under his command, succumbed to the mutated strain of the simian flu, resulting in the loss of speech and cognitive functions, a fate shared by other soldiers and medics in his unit. The ALZ113 virus initially served as a genetically engineered retrovirus designed to cure Alzheimer's disease. However, while it significantly enhanced the cognitive functions and intelligence of apes, it had a lethal effect on humans. This dichotomy led to a catastrophic decline in the human population as it spread rapidly across the globe, causing widespread mortality due to its highly contagious nature and the absence of immunity or cure among humans. In scientific terms, the ALZ113 virus functioned by crossing the blood-brain barrier and targeting neural cells. In apes, it facilitated neural regeneration and increased synaptic plasticity, leading to enhanced intelligence and cognitive abilities. For humans, however, the virus triggered a severe immune response, leading to systemic inflammation, organ failure, and ultimately death in a vast majority of the infected population. But here in war, the virus has undergone a mutation, resulting in an evolved strain that further impacts the surviving human population. This mutated strain, while no longer universally lethal, significantly impairs cognitive functions and renders those infected mute. From a scientific perspective, the mutation likely affects areas of the brain responsible for speech and higher cognitive functions, such as the Broca's area for speech production and the frontal cortex, which is crucial for problem-solving, memory, and judgment. The mutation altered the virus's mechanism of action, enabling it to specifically target and disrupt neural pathways and networks involved in speech and cognitive processing. This disruption likely resulted from the degeneration of neural tissue, interference with neurotransmitter release, or impairment of synaptic function, leading to the observed symptoms of muteness and reduced cognitive capabilities. The virus's ability to induce such specific neurological deficits suggests a highly targeted effect on the brain's structure and function, underscoring the dramatic and tragic consequences of its evolution on the remnants of humanity. Faced with their regression to a more primitive state, the colonel made the harrowing decision to execute his son and the affected soldiers, believing this was the only way to combat the virus's evolution. Despite the potential for a medical resolution, as considered by superiors, McCullough's drastic actions, including the killing of his own troops, sparked outrage among them. This act of mercilessness led to his alienation and marked his faction as radicalized, prompting the rest of the army to mobilize against him, intending to dismantle his extremist group and put a stop to his reign of terror.
This is a holy war. If we lose, it will be a planet of apes.
The imprisoned apes are finally provided with sustenance, all except for Caesar, who's singled out for deprivation, and in his weakened state, he experiences another haunting vision of Koba, who sinisterly invites him to embrace death alongside him. At the same time, from a distance, Maurice, Rocket, Bad Ape, and Nova devise a plan to infiltrate the camp. While Maurice and Rocket investigate a potential entry through the tunnels beneath them, Nova bravely enters the camp, managing to deliver water directly to Caesar in his cage. The girl is then given food by the other apes, which she promptly delivers to Caesar, along with the doll previously given to her by Maurice. Unfortunately, as soldiers draw near, Rocket is forced to heroically divert their attention, sacrificing his freedom to ensure that she escaped. The next morning, McCullough, upon visiting Caesar's enclosure and assigning him solitary labor in the quarry, carelessly picks up Nova's doll, now marked with blood. Simultaneously, Maurice, Bad Ape, and Nova discover an underground route into the camp, but their progress is momentarily halted when they encounter water, risking flooding and causing them to quickly act by blocking the section, preventing further disaster. Communicating through sign language, Caesar, Rocket, and the others plan to connect with both the adult apes and the children. Rocket then cunningly distracts a guard with a mischievous act, allowing Bad Ape to pull him into their underground escape route. Now armed with a key and the guard's weapon, Caesar and Rocket manage to free the children, and together with the group, they navigate through the tunnel, escaping the confines of the camp. But before their departure, Caesar confides in Rocket, acknowledging his similarity to Koba due to his inability to let go of his hatred for the Colonel.
Koba, he could not escape his hate, and I still cannot escape mine.
Deeply affected with this realization, Caesar decides to confront McCullough directly in his office, as an opposing military faction initiates an assault on the camp, with rockets and gunfire creating a tumultuous backdrop. Yet upon reaching his office, he discovers him in a state of drunkenness and mute, a consequence of exposure to the new strain of the simian flu from the doll taken from Caesar's cage. Faced with this situation, Caesar picks up a firearm, and the Colonel, in a moment of desperation, guides it to his own head, seemingly inviting his own execution. But Caesar finds himself unable to commit the act, and as he exits, McCullough takes matters into his own hands, ending his life with the weapon. Amid the ensuing chaos, and as the other apes make their escape, Caesar attempts to reunite with them. He grabs a grenade belt, intending to destroy a fuel tank to cover their retreat, but is hindered when Preacher shoots him with an arrow. Witnessing his plight, Red faces a pivotal moment. Despite being positioned amongst the human soldiers, he opts to save Caesar by using a grenade launcher against Preacher, effectively betraying the humans and sacrificing himself in an act of redemption. In this critical juncture, Caesar takes the opportunity to detonate the grenade, successfully obliterating the fuel tanks and causing the entire facility to explode. As Caesar makes his escape, the rival military faction celebrates the destruction of Alpha Omega. When they begin to aim their weapons at him, an avalanche, triggered by the explosion, thunders down the mountain. This catastrophic event forces all the apes to seek refuge in the trees, while the avalanche eradicates all the soldiers, removing any threat to their future safety. Now free from captivity, and with no adversaries left to challenge them, Caesar is able to lead the apes towards the promised oasis. Upon arrival, as the apes revel in their newfound freedom, Maurice discerns the gravity of Caesar's injury. Facing his impending demise, Caesar entrusts Maurice with the care of Cornelius, ensuring that his legacy will endure. Maurice solemnly promises that Cornelius will be aware of his father's sacrifice and the legacy he leaves behind. And content with this assurance, Caesar passes away surrounded by his community, who mourn the loss of their leader.
Apes are strong, with or without me.
Directed by Matt Reeves and co-written with Mark Bombach, War for the Planet of the Apes is a testament to the power of a well-crafted script. The screenplay is a marvel of storytelling, blending action, emotional depth, and thematic complexity to create a narrative that is both gripping and thought-provoking.
War for the Planet of the Apes, at its heart, is about the intimate relationship between these characters. What's so exciting is that we are capturing the actor's performance and tracking that into these photoreal apes.
The script excels in its depth, weaving a tale that is as much about internal struggle as it is about external conflict. It explores the culmination of Caesar's journey, portraying him not just as a leader of the apes, but as a character grappling with vengeance, forgiveness, and the burden of his past decisions. This personal journey is set against the backdrop of a larger conflict, creating a story that balances intimate character studies with a scale of epic storytelling. For me, one of the script's strongest attributes is its development of complex, multi-dimensional characters. Caesar is a character torn between his better instincts and his desire for revenge. The Colonel, on the other hand, is presented not merely as a villain, but as a tragic figure driven to extremes by his fear of extinction. Even secondary characters such as Maurice, Rocket, Bad Ape, and Nova are given arcs and motivations to enrich the narrative, making the world of the film feel lived in and real. I really appreciated how the screenplay navigated themes of moral ambiguity with skill, refusing to paint its conflict in black and white. Both apes and humans are shown to be capable of cruelty and compassion, raising questions about the nature of humanity and the possibility of coexistence. This ambiguity elevates the script beyond a simple good versus evil narrative, challenging audiences to consider the complexities of revenge, justice, and empathy.
It's an epic film, and it exists on so many different levels as a metaphor, but also it exists as a piece of entertainment. It's very, very moving. It's emotionally engaging. It has great humor in it too, and pathos. And it's an action movie, but at the same time, it's not overly spectacular, so that it feels gratuitous. It's beautifully directed and focused, so that you're taken on a journey that you really you really can't second guess what's going to happen next.
War for the Planet of the Apes is, at its heart, a deeply moving story, and the script ensures that its emotional beats resonate. The loss of Caesar's family, his internal conflict, and the sacrifices made by characters throughout the film are handled with a sensitivity that allows for genuine engagement. And the script's ability to elicit empathy for its characters, both human and ape, is a key element of its success. By focusing on the oppression of the apes and their fight for dignity, the new series flips the script on the original's premise. The apes, once the oppressors in the distant future of the original films, are now the oppressed, striving to carve out a place for themselves in a world dominated by humans. This narrative inversion challenges us to reconsider our allegiances and sympathies, further blurring the lines between the us and them dichotomy.
I was so drawn into this idea of watching these apes sort of behaving in ways that really were about us. And I think that there's a kind of universality to it because the ape behavior and the human nature is very universal. They're on the edge of extinction. They're fighting for survival. And so the question starts to be, just how extreme would you be in order to preserve your very species, to allow for a world where there can be decency and humanity and gentleness again? How extreme will you be to fight for that?
The use of cutting-edge motion capture technology allows for an unprecedented level of emotional expressiveness in the ape characters, bridging the gap between human and ape. This technological advancement enables us to connect with the apes on an emotional level, making their pain, joy, and struggles palpable. And I think the visual realism of the apes, combined with their human-like expressions and emotions, plays a crucial role in shifting our empathy towards them.
You're not just standing in for the role until the magic's done later on. You're not just representing the character. You are the character for real.
When you're in the audience, what you're really looking for is that emotional connection. That can't be done by just somebody in a gray suit that's just doing the body movements. That has to come from trained talent.
The trilogy's narrative structure and visual storytelling further aid in this subversion. By placing the apes in situations that highlight their intelligence, familial bonds, and capacity for love and sacrifice, we're invited to side with them against the backdrop of human antagonism and fear. The humans, while not universally villainized, are often portrayed as fearful, aggressive, and unable to move beyond prejudice, echoing the behavior of the apes in the original series. In this way, the new trilogy succeeded in what seemed almost impossible. It recontextualizes the conflict between humans and apes, making the audience root for the very creatures that once embodied fear and otherness. Through its nuanced portrayal of characters, exploration of complex themes, and innovative use of technology, the series not only subverts the original films, but also offers a profound commentary on empathy, coexistence, and the nature of humanity itself.
Well, the entire franchise, the entire story system is built around a metaphor of apes reflecting humanity. It's so much easier in a way to be able to see ourselves by abstracting ourselves and being able to, to see a society which is very similar to our own. So that's why they've endured. That's why these films have endured. That's why they continue to be really powerful, why they can still be social commentary, why they still can be, this brilliant combination of being entertainment, but at the same time be moving, powerfully engaging, and comment on the planet.
The final chapter stands out as the pinnacle of the rebooted series, offering a fitting tribute to a character that's deeply resonated with us over time. The journey of Caesar is the emotional core of the story, showcasing a leader torn between his instincts for vengeance and his inherent sense of justice and mercy. Andy Serkis' performance, captured through groundbreaking motion capture technology, brings an unparalleled level of nuance, physicality, and emotion to the character, making Caesar not just a memorable CGI creation, but a deeply relatable and tragic figure. His portrayal captures the weight of leadership and the pain of loss, and Serkis' ability to convey complex emotions through the digital avatar of an ape is nothing short of remarkable, cementing Caesar as one of the most memorable characters of all time.
I think Andy is one of the most gifted actors I've ever run into. It blows my mind to see how much he can convey with saying nothing. I've never encountered that kind of extremity of just ability to convey things through his eyes.
When something is performance capture, it means it's driven by performance, and performance is often driven by surprise, discovery, because when things are happening and the camera is rolling, you've caught it, and that moment illuminates something, and that only comes when you're willing to throw away, to some degree, what you've got. Of course, you have your roadmap, you have your script, but try to find something deeper, some more surprises, and Andy's that kind of actor. He was constantly surprising me.
He is one of the greatest actors ever, I think. Just being able to see him do his thing on set every day it's amazing.
Andy is a special performer. Just his energy and what he brings to Caesar, like it's, you know, when they turn ape, they're apes, you know what I mean? And it's great to see that. And just on top of him just being an amazing performer, he's a great human being. He's the nicest guy.
As an actor, as a human being, this is the most incredible gentleman. I think I've one of the most incredible gentlemen I've ever met in my life in terms of grounding the leader within our filmmaking journey.
Colonel McCullough's actions, though often cruel, are rooted in a twisted sense of survivalism, making him a compelling and at times sympathetic character. And the dynamic between Caesar and the Colonel provides the film with its moral and ideological battleground, exploring themes of extremism, mercy, and the cycle of violence. Woody Harrelson brings a chilling intensity to the antagonist driven by ruthless determination to save humanity from extinction. His performance is powerful, portraying McCullough not as a one-dimensional villain, but as a complex character whose extreme actions are rooted in fear and desperation. He nails the Colonel's charisma and menace, making him a formidable foe for Caesar, and a fascinating character in his own right.
I mean, Woody's a very inventive actor, and he ended up having a lot to contribute to the character at the script stage. You know, we had written it, you know, Mark and I, very detailed, and then he had certain aspects where he thought, oh, I love that. Can we try to eliminate that further? And we got into a really great dialogue with him about that so that we could really explore his humanity, and it was really fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could easily look at the Colonel as a bad guy, but I kind of look at him as a guy who feels called upon to do something great and important in this uncertain world.
And Woody and I had the most amazing journey on this, and we became very close friends as a result. Because of the Caesar-Colonel relationship, you know, he was very willing to take it as far as he could, and we completely connected.
The kindness, intelligence, and empathy of Maurice towards others, including the human child Nova, highlight the potential for understanding and compassion between species. And Karen Koneval's performance as Maurice, the wise and empathetic orangutan, is a standout. Through motion capture, Koneval brings a gentle strength and deep compassion to the role, serving as Caesar's moral compass. Her interactions with Nova are particularly touching, highlighting the potential for empathy and understanding across the species, with Koneval's portrayal adding a layer of emotional depth to the film, emphasizing the themes of friendship and solidarity.
He's Caesar's conscience, he's been his advisor for a very long time, and his commitment and his devotion to Caesar is complete.
As Nova, the mute girl who forms a bond with the apes, Amaya Miller delivers a poignant and captivating performance without the use of spoken dialogue. Miller's expressive face and body language convey a wide range of emotions, from fear, curiosity to affection. Despite the tragic death of her father, her bond with the ape characters, especially Maurice, is heartwarming, underscoring the film's message of compassion and coexistence.
It's crazy because I pictured something in my head reading the script, and it turned out like 1,000 times better when I first saw it.
This is kind of how we met, is with her riding behind me. So we actually met, Karen and Amaya, on Navarone, which was very beautiful, yeah. And I could feel immediately that this was an honest connection, that Amaya is a stunning young actor. And our connection was right there before we'd even gotten to set.
Nova represents humanity and goodness, and she just kind of is the light in the movie, and she's just the breath of fresh air, and including Bad Ape.
Thanks.
But you're welcome, Steve. But she also just brings out the good in Caesar because everything is just so dark, and she just makes him see everything in like a different light, and I'm glad she does because things are going downhill.
Bad Ape's backstory and quirky personality enrich the film's tapestry of characters, offering a glimpse into the experiences of apes outside of Caesar's immediate circle, and Steve Zahn does a terrific job of providing comic relief, while also highlighting the broader impact of the simian flu from another point of view.
I love the name because it, I don't know what it implies. I mean, the obvious, which is, oh, you're the bad ape. Now you're the bad guy in the story, which couldn't be more not the opposite of that, really. But he's bad ape because he's mischievous, at the zoo. Bad ape. He's excitable. He's got energy. Whereas, the other apes are more grounded and more, heavy and slow in their speech, and he's a completely different speed.
Both Rocket and Luca contribute significantly to the emotional weight of the film, demonstrating the depths of bonds formed in the face of hardship. Through motion capture, Terry Notary and Michael Adamthwaite deliver performances that are both physically impressive and emotionally resonant. Their characters' bravery, loyalty, and sacrifices, adding to the film's exploration of friendship and devotion during periods of adversity.
Terry is, he's world-class and a unique human being. And really, this franchise, these three films particularly, would not be anything without his involvement, because he's not only playing a character in it, but he's also keeping an eye on every single other ape performer in this and coaching them.
Finally, Red's character arc, culminating in a moment of sacrifice, cannot be overlooked. It illustrates the complex motivations driving individuals and the possibility of absolution. Ty Olson's portrayal of Red's internal conflict and eventual redemption adds complexity, exploring the motivations and pressures that lead individuals to make difficult choices in times of war.
Weta can take this motion capture data and make that translate into a character that you actually can relate to.
The way that you can read genuine emotion has reached another level.
Oh no!
All of the performances are pivotal in bringing these characters to life, supported by a script that values emotional depth and moral complexity. And the film stands as a testament to the power of character in driving narrative and theme.
This movie is all about otherness. It's about fundamentalism. It's about what you do to save your own tribe above anybody else's. These are all questions that we're facing. It couldn't be more of a perfect metaphor for our times. I really do believe this movie is a film for our ages. To be able to literally flip the world on its head and see a human nature within another kind really does allow us to put our condition under a microscope in a very interesting way.
War is a remarkable achievement in cinema, showcasing an exceptional blend of technical sophistication and visionary direction. The film not only advanced the narrative and thematic elements established in the previous installments, but also set a benchmark for visual effects, sound design, cinematography, and overall filmmaking.
Here was this amazing story of an outsider who was, brought up with human beings and, grew up with love, and then at a certain age was rejected and then thrown into another situation, a kind of a facility, and the pages were going by, and I was thinking this incredible story of a boy becoming a revolutionary and then leading his kind to freedom, and it was like, and by the way, it's an ape.
Matt Reeves' direction is nothing short of masterful, demonstrating a clear vision for the story and its execution. His handling of the film's complex themes, such as leadership, morality, and the quest for peace, is both thoughtful and compelling.
The story is very much an ape point of view story. You come into it through Caesar's perspective. You see this war that's been going on and the losses that the apes are taking, and Caesar taking it very, very personally. And on the one front, it's a giant war movie. It's filled with action and battles. But in the foreground, it's really about Caesar's war within his heart and the struggle for his soul. Will he lose any sense of, for lack of a better phrase, humanity?
He manages to balance action-packed sequences with intimate character moments, ensuring that the film's heart and intellect are never overshadowed by its spectacle. His ability to elicit strong performances from the cast, both human and digital, speaks to his skill as a director. His attention to detail and his commitment to the film's thematic integrity make War for the Planet of the Apes a standout piece of cinematic storytelling, leading to my assessment that it's the best film in the rebooted series and one of the best third entries in trilogies.
My hat's off to him because I love his pursuit of excellence. I think that he's got a great vision and he's going to bring it to the screen, and it's going to be awesome.
Matt is incredible. He never stops thinking about his vision, and he is really good at letting you know what's going on in his head. That's the whole point of directing.
He is such a fine director, and he's so truth-seeking missile for the moment of the story that all I have to do is be present in the scenes, listen, and I trust him implicitly, like whatever Matt asks me to do. If he says, can Maurice this a go? Yeah.
The result is a film that is not only visually stunning, but also deeply human. In war, technology and artistry converge to create a truly remarkable cinematic experience.
Cobra still haunts us. Why didn't I see that he could not forgive what humans did to him?
Have you finally come to save your apes?
I came for you. You cannot save them. Join me. Son will know what Caesar did for us.
Why do they hunt her?
She knows the human secrets.
The elders did not tell us everything about this world.
If the reboot prequels ultimately aim to depict the arrival of astronaut George Taylor, a shift in the world building is needed. After the riveting portrayal of Caesar by Andy Serkis, one might wonder how the franchise will transition from the ape's current heroic portrayal to a more antagonistic role. Set about 300 years after the events of war, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes begins to explore this trajectory. In this future, the principles and victories of Caesar have crystallized into the foundational myths of a thriving ape society, living among the ruins of cities reclaimed by nature. But society no longer adheres strictly to his teachings, such as ape must not kill ape, and humans, referred to as echoes, have been reduced to mere scavengers hiding in the wilderness. The story focuses on Noah, a young chimpanzee from the peaceful Eagle clan, known for training birds of prey. Noah and his two closest friends embark on a quest to each retrieve an egg from the highest eagle nest, a rite of passage in their coming-of-age bonding ceremony. However, their journey is violently interrupted when militarized guerrillas on horseback overrun their forest home, abducting and killing many in their clan. Driven by necessity, Noah begins a quest to rescue his people, encountering new allies and uncovering the forgotten principles of Caesar along the way. This new chapter demonstrates the first steps towards the moral and societal decay that could eventually lead to the world George Taylor finds. A society where apes dominate humans not just physically, but through the kind of brutality once exercised by mankind.
Long before your elders, Caesar was our leader. He taught us decency and mercy.
The movie opens with a recap of humanity's downfall following a devastating virus, leading to the ascendance of apes under the leadership of Caesar. The poignant scene of his funeral follows, showing his clan respectfully placing flowers on his head before lighting his pyre in honor of their fallen leader. A few centuries later, apes have established varying clans across the land. We're introduced to Noah, Anaya, and Suna, three young apes from a spiritual village nestled amid old power lines, which specializes in training eagles for hunting and as attack companions. The energetic trio climbs decaying skyscrapers in search of eagle nests, aiming to gather new eggs to replenish their village's aviaries in a rite of passage. After Suna and Anaya successfully secure their eggs, Noah reaches the highest nest and snatches an egg, only to be attacked by the mother eagle, causing him to fall. Fortunately, he manages to catch himself on the side of an old building. But as the trio descend, Noah realizes his blanket is missing from his horse. Spotting a human outsider with it, they give chase, but the human escapes down a dark tunnel, abandoning the blanket. Upon their return to the village, we discover that Noah is the son of Koro, the village's master of birds, and raised by the caregiver, his mother Dar. Koro discusses the upcoming ritual with Noah, expressing concerns about venturing beyond the valley after detecting the human scent on his recovered blanket. That night, disturbed by a noise, Noah encounters the very same human woman from earlier. In a brief altercation, she hits his chest, causing the egg he was safeguarding in his sack to break. Concerned about his father's potential reaction, Noah worries about his standing in the village, especially as the loss of the egg jeopardizes his progression to the next stage of his adulthood apprenticeship. While Suna and Anaya are ready to delay their own rituals to support Noah, he insists on not holding them back and decides to seek a replacement egg himself. Determined to rectify his mistake, Noah returns to the city, only to encounter a violent poaching group led by the brutish western lowland gorilla, Silver, who wield electrified polearm weapons. Noah also stumbles upon a deceased ape and another from his clan who'd been fatally wounded while trying to warn him. Initially scared, Noah takes cover as the apes arrive and strike his horse, causing it to flee towards the village, unwittingly leading the aggressors back to their home. Unfortunately, upon Noah's return, he finds the village ablaze. Not only that, but the masked apes are rounding up his clan members, including Dar, Suna, and Anaya, chanting for Caesar as they do so. In the chaos, as they begin to free the eagles, despite both their efforts to defend themselves, Silver overpowers them, sending Noah tumbling from a tower before killing Koro. The next morning, Noah awakens amidst the ruins of his destroyed village. The general has effectively taken the survivors captive for slave labor. Alone and determined, Noah embarks on a desperate mission to track down Silver and rescue his friends and family. After burying his father, Noah continues his quest as Koro's eagle reappears. He tries to bond with it, but the eagle's attack on his arm symbolizes his unpreparedness to assume his father's mantle. In this way, the movie frames Noah's journey as both a coming-of-age tale and a resistance against tyranny. Though inexperienced and alone, his unwavering loyalty and determination fuel his quest to rise and redefine his destiny. As he walks across the jungle, he inadvertently falls through a glass ceiling into a trap. He manages to free himself, but is then confronted by an orangutan named Raka. Initially mistaking Noah for one of the soldiers, Raka soon learns of Noah's situation and reveals that he too is mourning the last of his own clan before deciding to bring Noah with him. Through the wise Raka, he discovers that what he lacks is a deeper understanding of virtue. A staunch adherent to the once sacred maxim, apes together strong, Raka identifies himself as the last member of the Order of Caesar, an organization dedicated to preserving and teaching the noble principles of the historic leader. Intriguingly, Raka also wears the same pendant that was given to baby Caesar in Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Becoming a mentor figure, he imparts the tenets of Caesar to Noah, many of which are unfamiliar to him. He also explains his affiliation with the Order of Caesar, now reduced to a one-member group due to the rise of a tyrannical ape who calls himself Proximus Caesar. Proximus has perverted Caesar's teachings, exploiting them for his own gain. Much to Noah's surprise, Raka recounts the times when humans and apes had actually coexisted peacefully, a vision that was dear to Caesar.
There was a time when humans and apes lived side by side, but it ceases to exist.
The orangutan further reveals how Silver and the authoritarian Proximus have distorted the original teachings of unity under Caesar to serve their selfish interests. Proximus has gathered his followers and enslaved apes at a large deserted human bunker in Coronado Bay, which he views as his rightful domain. Raka makes it clear that someone must rise to challenge the corruption and restore justice and integrity. With Raka joining Noah in his quest, during their journey, they encounter the young Echo woman again after setting up camp. Raka offers her food and persuades Noah to give her his mother's blanket for warmth, despite Noah's reservations.
No, this is important. They get cold. Show mercy.
Naming her Nova after the human girl befriended by Caesar, the orangutan acknowledges her human identity, which is later revealed to be May. In this distant future, humans are scarce, less intelligent, and socially inferior to apes. May, however, defies the typical expectations of her kind. Like Noah, she's focused on survival and on finding the same artifacts and resources coveted by Proximus. As Noah ventures beyond the boundaries of his home, the narrative expands into a realm that feels both vast and daunting. The film excels when it embraces elements of fantasy and fairy tale storytelling, depicting Noah's journey as a voyage of discovery, similar to classic coming-of-age tales. He's about to learn difficult lessons and face hard choices, which contribute to the film's sense of a grand adventure. But Noah's journey is not just about locating his people, but also about understanding the forces that led to their capture, the distortions of societal principles by time, and the ambition of others. When they set up camp, Noah discovers an observatory and is captivated by the stars. May also looks through the telescope, sharing a similar moment of wonder that catches him off guard. The next day, as Noah, May, and Raka encounter a herd of zebra at a lake, a scene of tranquility unfolds. However, the peace is shattered when a group of humans appear to drink and bathe in the lake, followed by apes who begin rounding them up for sport. In the ensuing chaos, May takes cover in the grass while Raka attempts to protect her. Meanwhile, Silver tells his forces to find her. Noah begins to ride out on his horse in a frantic search for them both, when May reveals her ability to speak by calling out his name, allowing him to rescue her. With Raka's assistance, they manage to evade the malevolent apes and reach the safety of the shore.
What did I miss?
She spoke. She called my name.
You misheard.
I have a name. May.
There, the woman introduces herself as May and explains to Noah that his clan has been taken to a bunker, while she's in search of other humans. Their journey continues, and they soon come upon a bridge where Silver and his apes ambush them. In a struggle, May falls into the water and is swept away, only to be caught in a net. As Raka attempts to free her, he's pulled under the water himself. Unfortunately, Silver then captures Noah and May. Here, Raka invokes Caesar's creed, apes together strong, to remind Noah of their unity and strength, just before Silver cuts the net, sending Raka downstream to his death. The pair are then taken to the settlement, located beside a massive vault that Proximus has been unable to open. There, Noah is reunited with Suna, Dar, and Anaya, and along with May, is brought before Proximus.
Say his words! What a wonderful day!
Proximus sees her as the charismatic yet tyrannical ruler of a striking seaside cliff-dwelling empire, constantly battered by waves. He's driven by a relentless obsession to open an iron fortress that conceals the remnants of human history and technology, believing that unlocking it will secure his kingdom's dominance beyond his own lifetime. His daily efforts involve extensive slave hunting raids to strengthen the labor force needed to open the fortress's iron doors. Despite the failures, characterized by the groans of the apes, the sweat of horses, and the cracks of gorilla whips, Proximus maintains an almost touching belief in success, murmuring, "Maybe tomorrow, stronger." His rule is marked by an urgent thirst for knowledge to cement his long-term control. He employs a human librarian, tutor, and advisor to educate him on human history, creating a dynamic reminiscent of Anna and the King of Siam, with Trevathan as the unlikely Anna figure. A seedy opportunist, Trevathan advises Noah to capitalize on his fortuitous recognition by Proximus, who values clever apes, remarking that he has use for them. As a result, Noah begins to find himself caught between aligning with Proximus's quest for knowledge and resisting his brutal regime. Proximus envisions evolving and conquering once he's accessed the vault's secrets, viewing Noah as potentially instrumental in this plan. He also cautions Noah that humans cannot be trusted. Meanwhile, outside the fortress, he speaks with his mother, who's resigned herself to the loss of her home. On the brink of losing hope himself, Noah is reinvigorated when he finds the pendant left by Raka, a reminder of Caesar's principles. This moment reignites Noah's resolve, convincing him that Proximus's ways are fundamentally flawed and must be challenged. Trying to form a plan, he confronts May to understand her true intentions, and she reveals that she's searching for a device akin to a book that could help humans regain their ability to communicate. Together, joining forces with Anaya and Suna, they plan to neutralize the contents of the vault by exposing them to water, rendering them useless to Proximus. Despite their efforts, Trevathan dismisses their plans as futile. While May attempts to recruit him, having lost faith in humanity, he instead decides to inform Proximus. In a desperate move that surprises the other apes, May chokes Trevathan to death and has his body disposed of in the water. The group then set explosives around a dam and access the vault through a secret entrance known by May. Inside, they discover picture books depicting apes in zoos, highlighting the historical role reversal. May then finds her sought-after book, which turns out to be a key for deciphering vault machinery and communication systems. This revelation in the final act underscores May's linguistic abilities and her pro-human agenda, casting her as a complex ally in Noah's fight against Proximus's tyranny. Unfortunately, when they attempt to escape the vault, they're confronted by Proximus and his forces. In a tense standoff, Proximus's Lieutenant Lightning threatens Suna with a knife, but May, wielding a gun she found in the vault, shoots him dead. When the leader inquires if there were additional firearms inside, May defiantly refuses to surrender the vault's contents and activates the explosives. Unfortunately, this ends up flooding the bunker and drowning Proximus's army and all the other apes inside. As the Eagle clan is sent to safety, Noah is pursued by Silver. In a narrow escape, Noah slips past a small gap that Silver cannot pass, leaving the gorilla to drown. Reaching the surface, the group encounters Proximus again, who attacks Noah, intent on punishing him. In a defiant act, Noah invokes his father's songs to command the Eagles. The clan then joins in, and the Eagles swoop down on Proximus, attacking him ferociously. Dar's Eagle delivers the final strike, pulling Proximus over the ledge to his death. This climactic moment symbolizes not only the reclaiming of power by Noah and his clan, but also the restoration of the natural order. With victory in hand, Noah leads the apes back to their home, where they begin the process of rebuilding. During this time, May returns to bid Noah farewell, but their conversation reveals deeper conflict, with May initially appearing to want to kill him. Given what she did, Noah shares a sentiment he agreed with from Proximus, that humans ultimately act in self-interest. In return, May confesses her goal to help humans reclaim their planet, prompting Noah to question the future role of apes in such a world. As the movie concludes, May reaches a human base where she's greeted by a woman named Karina, and others that can actually speak. She finally hands over the key, which Karina then uses with her team to activate a network of satellites. This enables them to reach out to other human survivors, suggesting a possible resurgence of human influence. Meanwhile, Noah invites Suna to the observatory, where they share a moment gazing at the stars together. The scene underscores a potential new beginning, possibly hinting at future challenges and developments in the fraught relationship between humans and apes.
I've always liked the romantic notion of starting over, of something new happening, right? And so I didn't want to do kind of the smoldering ashes of a world thing. And obviously, and I think in Dawn and War in particular, you do kind of set up this idea that mankind is on their last breath, essentially. And so I thought what was going to be really fun is to have a big cut, you know, in our case, a couple hundred years, where what would happen when humans are gone.
The Planet of the Apes films consistently explore the mistrust between humans and apes, with the conclusion often highlighting the perils of forgotten histories and cultural amnesia. The narratives reveal a planet dominated by apes following the downfall of humans, and ape societies that become increasingly authoritarian, ultimately leading to their self-destruction. The cycle is always in some way or another driven by suppressed knowledge of human history and technology, illustrating a grim repetition in primate history that is hidden or lost over time. Attempts at forming ape-human alliances are invariably futile, adding a layer of despair to the storytelling. This recurring despairing critique of primate history, with humans portrayed as the most destructive primates, is a compelling aspect of the series. In this way, the films do not just recount tales of dominance and survival, but engage in a deep societal critique that began with the 1968 Planet of the Apes, which offered a scathing satirical view of human ideologies impacting ape behaviours.
Wes's vision boards and the things we've seen, it's such a beautiful, terrifying world where nature has just taken back what's hers, you know, and the skyscrapers just eaten by vines and you know, rivers, raging rivers running through cities and yeah, so it's an incredible world, and it's a world I've always really loved, and I think, you know, Wes is such a visual director, so I think it's going to be pretty mind-blowing.
Despite not being directed by Rupert Wyatt and Matt Reeves, and not being written by the Reboot trilogy screenwriters Mark Bombach, Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, Kingdom maintains an exceptional level of technical execution. The film's use of performance capture technology continues to set industry standards, capturing the fluidity and textures of its characters with striking realism. Under the direction of Wes Ball, known for the Maze Runner series and as frequent cinematographer Gyula Pados, the film's visual narrative is vibrant and dynamic, perfectly complementing the agile movements of its ape characters, and composer John Pacino pays tribute to the seminal score by Jerry Goldsmith, enhancing the film's atmospheric depth.
They are true artists. They are not just, you know, computer tech nerds. People don't totally appreciate the artistry and sort of storytelling, filmmaking, craftsmen that these people at Weta are. And it starts with Eric Winquist, our VFX supervisor.
The film presents a world that feels expansive and immersive, supported by excellent visual effects. Viewers are plunged into a setting where apes ride horses and navigate through crumbling skyscrapers using tools, against a backdrop of human cities, overtaken by nature and decay. The setting not only showcases the evolution of ape society, with its own traditions and laws, but also the remnants of human civilization. The emotional depth of the film, which balances grand ambitions with a poignant exploration of motives and morality, grounds the story. While the movie experiences a slow pace in its second act, focusing on quarry tracking and the dissemination of legends, which extends its runtime past 2 hours, it still offers a rich tapestry of details and character development. I was pretty surprised to discover that this is Josh Friedman's first screenplay in 18 years since The Black Dahlia, and it appears he's channeled his efforts into creating something monumental.
Wes has a very, I think, fantastic visual imagination. And so a pitch through a sequence meeting for the team, you get through that process with Wes very animatedly, kind of, talking through the storyboards. And then he does this, with lots of sound effects. You get through that process and you've seen the film, you've seen the sequence in your mind. You're like, I want to watch that movie. So I think he's really great at getting everybody jazzed about the project.
A prevailing theme throughout Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is mercy. In a world teetering on the brink of conflict, the narrative explores the transformative power of mercy, showing how it can lead to decency, morality, and compassion through unified strength rather than divisive hubris. However, it's also not shy to hint at the inevitable resurgence of human selfishness, suggesting an impending shift in the franchise's focus. Led by a new creative team, it continues to march to its own beat, setting the stage for what promises to be another epic installment. Amid a landscape of predictable genre films with pretty low stakes, Kingdom may take some time to resonate, but it ultimately stands out as a thought-provoking and emotionally compelling chapter in the enduring franchise.
It's such a cool continuation of this world. We find a new protagonist called Noah.
For the humans, life as we knew it has kind of gone, and the apes hunt down the humans. But Noah sees something special in my character.
The performances are notable across the board. Freya Allen, playing May, delivers a solid performance as a human walking a thin line between learning to trust the apes and wanting to prevent them from stopping the re-emergence of humanity.
Every aspect of a role, like all the physical stuff, every part of it is you putting something into May and also getting something back from that stunt or that in terms of it helps you kind of have a sense of what she's kind of going through.
Owen Teague is compelling as Noah, our protagonist who's initially hesitant about his next steps in life, but is ultimately forced into becoming a brave and compassionate leader with the help of Raka.
We started doing these improvs where we would be in a room and we would throw a ball back and forth as apes with, the kind of hands that apes have. What I'm describing is the first instance of this, but it started happening almost every day where we would do an exercise and that exercise would grow into an improvisation that had no setup. It wasn't okay, you are going to do this and here's the situation, go. It was just we're tossing a ball back and forth and suddenly we're trying to get it from each other and now we're putting it on each other's heads and now we're chasing each other and now the whole room is in a frenzy of playing with these tennis balls.
Kevin Durand is particularly magnetic as Proximus, strong, intelligent, and cunning. He's a character that almost has you rooting for him in his attempt to pave the way for ape supremacy.
Production design is so stunning, and working with this technology is so liberating. Because even when you're not on an actual practical set, you have a really good idea of what it's going to be because they already have these worlds.
While Peter McConaughey's Raka and the rest of the cast are spectacular, having immersed themselves into their roles impressively by attending an ape school for 6 weeks to learn ape-like movements and behaviors. Andy Serkis, a veteran and effectively the king in motion capture acting, worked as a consultant, advising the actors to balance physicality with deep character engagement, advice that clearly enhanced their performances. In the end, the film is a prime example of how terrific sets, props, costumes, and visual effects can be leveraged to elevate storytelling, creating a thrilling and entertaining cinematic experience. With Wes Ball at the helm, there's an anticipation of a new trilogy, hinted at by the setup of May and Noah's stories, which promise to expand the narrative into exciting new territories.
The fact that we took this leap forward to kind of do our own thing, but still stay true and honored to not just the previous trilogy, but all the movies that have come before us, I hope people will appreciate that we try to do our own thing, but still, honored what came before.